ourselves, our organizations, our devices, our data, all those things from these kind of attacks. And then we will go into some interesting topics, a brief introduction to zero trust architecture and even the post quantum cryptography and their relevance to the domain of mobile security. So no need to say the number of smartphone users across the globe and in India are exponentially increasing. And if we say the statistics, if we see the statistics, around 2010 there were around 34 million users, smartphone users in the country. But in now 2024, it is around 938 million, and it is expected to grow to 1.55 billion users by 2040. So there is a huge scope of expansion and huge market also. And this expansion highlights the widespread impact of the smartphones. So there is a huge impact of these smartphones on the day-to-day life of the users, enterprises, and how we do the shopping, how we do the various other aspects. You see here, so these smartphones are being used in the banking and finance sector, health, e-commerce, social networking. So I want to transfer some amount. So these days, no need to say even I want to transfer 5 rupees. I use the Google Pay, Phone Pay, and people the other side who are accepting also is very happy to receive the money through Google Pay, Phone Pay because of various reasons like so I don't have change for 5 rupees, 10 rupees. So you look at a very huge volume of transaction, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs also I do using the mobile device. I do a transaction of 5 rupees, 10 rupees also using the mobile devices. So that is the kind of adoption we have in the financial sector, the smartphones. Even coming to the health, I want to book any lab test. I do it using the mobile app. I want to buy medicines. I use the mobile app. So such a kind of adoption is there, and everyone knows it, and no need to further explain it. So, but now, what is the problem? Yes, there is a huge adoption, and a lot of people are using it. So, is it good or bad actually? It is one way good, but the thing is like, so lots of data is being populated into these mobile devices, our personal data, our credit card information, uh, our financial data, our business related information, so our official information. So all those things are being populated into our mobile devices. So what is happening? So it mobile devices have become a gold mine for the attackers actually. So someone want to attack you, it has become very easy. So earlier, if someone need to attack an organization or something, so they need to break the firewall, perimeter security, and all those things, and then enter into the enterprise, and then lot of security is there. You need to bypass that thing. But now with the mobile, so there is no perimeter security, no firewall, no IDS, no IPS. Someone who wants to attack, it's very easy with the help of some social engineering attack. Someone will be able to attack you easily. Just send an SMS and just make you click on a simple link, and your mobile device is hacked. So, so it is the other side of the adoption of the smartphones actually. So let us see how this threat landscape of mobile is there across the various aspects. So as I was mentioning, there are more than 1 billion smartphone users. And the statistics say that India experienced 3 attacks per month per Android device. You just assume. So I am telling 1 billion smartphone users are there approximately. And then every device has experienced 3 attacks per month per Android device. So look at the kind of volume of attacks that are happening on our mobile devices, which most of us don't know. And even we don't know whether our mobile device is attacked or not attacked, or our data, our personal data is stolen or not. So we never know actually. So why these attacks are happening? Major reasons being that whatever applications we are using are vulnerable. 77% of the mobile finance apps had serious vulnerabilities. So So I am telling that whatever financial transactions I do with the help of mobile using some application, mobile application or the other. But the statistics says that 77% of the mobile financial apps have serious vulnerabilities. That means you are very much vulnerable to attacks actually. And it's not like only Android. So the case is similar for iOS also. The number of attacks that are happening on Android device are increasing at a rapid pace. At the same time, the number of attacks happening on the iOS also is increasing at a rapid pace actually. So not only the applications, even our operating systems are vulnerable. And every year, the number of vulnerabilities that are detected in the operating systems are also increasing at a very large pace. And the statistics says that from 2021 to 20, it has increased at 138%. You see the kind of volume actually. So not only those, our enterprises are also not secure, so they are also getting targeted. Even and some statistics says that 95% of forensic evidence sources points to smartphones. If there is any crime, so generally what we do, the cybercrime departments do the forensics to see what, so how the attack has happened or how the crime has happened. So by analyzing the devices, and these days the smartphones have become the 95% of evidence. So mostly we are relying on the smartphones for evidences actually, because most of the activities we are doing with the help of these smartphones. So this is the kind of threat landscape currently we are in. The complete mobile ecosystem is facing. So within the country and outside the country, and there is a huge threat around, and it is very important for us to secure ourselves against these threats actually. So let us look at some recent attacks that have happened on mobile devices. So Security Dropper is one sophisticated dropper as a service. Basically, it's a malware targeting the Android devices. So the thing is like, so as we have mentioned, like lot of attacks are happening, and the Android Google is also continuously uh, looking at how to improve the security of these applications. Okay, how to secure the complete ecosystem actually, how to secure the applications whenever some application is coming into the Play Store. So how they are evaluating the application in a very stringent manner and seeing like malware is not entering into the Play Stores actually. In spite of these things, in spite of continuous evaluation of these security features that are being provided by the Google or the Android per se. But still, the attackers are finding ways to bypass these security mechanisms and cheat the users or attack the users and steal the information and do financial frauds actually. Here we are discussing about one such example where Android 13 and above has a security feature called restricted settings. So what this restricted settings means, so there are two ways, multiple ways of installing an application, but majorly we can consider two ways. One is that we install it from a legitimate app store like the Google Play Store or the Apple Store actually. So there is another mechanism which popularly these attackers are using these days, which is the side loading of the applications. So what do you mean by side loading of the application? So so we are not going to install the application through the legitimate app store. The application will be installed through the side channel. Like I can click on a link and I can download an application and I can install it by clicking on the application. So that link can be sent through a WhatsApp or SMS or through email or any other things actually. So so what is the thing is like, so as the App Store also having stringent rules, so before any application is put into the App Store, so what these malicious actors are doing, so they are trying to push these malicious applications through side loading, where they bypass the security of the App Store, what the App Store people are providing actually. So so there is no stringent evaluation of the application, and they can easily penetrate into your mobile device by just a single click of the application actually. So in order to restrict these kind of attacks, what Android has done is like they have brought in something called as restricted settings. So what is this restricted settings? So any application which is installed through side loading, not from which is not installed from the genuine app store and it is installed by side loading. So they are restricting some permissions to these applications. They are not giving accessibility permission to these applications. They are not giving the notification permission to these. See, notification permission and accessibility permission are considered the most dangerous permissions these days. The reason being, if you have given any application the accessibility permission, they will be able to read what is there on your screen actually. If you are using WhatsApp, they will be able to read the complete messages what you are typing in the WhatsApp actually by reading your screen. And even if some OTP is received in the notification, if you have a notification permission, that application will be able to read that OTP. So these are considered very dangerous permissions. So what Android thought is like, okay, if the application is not installed from a genuine source or through legitimate app store, let us restrict some permissions. So this is what the security feature brought by Android 13 and above. But unfortunately, what is happening is like attackers have found ways to bypass even these security settings actually. Okay, so how they are bypassing it? So initially they are downloading a legitimate application from the Google Play Store, so which doesn't have any malicious uh, payloads. And after that, from that application, they are downloading the malicious applications and they are installing. So they are fooling. So as it is installed from a genuine application which is installed from the Google Play Store, they are able to bypass these kind of security checks by the Android actually. So this is how the screen looks like. In the left hand side, you see, so an application which is side loaded. So it is not getting the access to the permissions such as the accessibility and notifications. And if you see the right side, the payload is installed by bypassing these security mechanisms provided by the Android, and they are able to get these permissions like the accessibility services actually. So Goldosan is another type of attack which is popular these days. Basically, it is not an application; it is a library. And what they are doing is that they are putting this library having some functionality in the open source, and developers are falling prey to this, and they are directly downloading these third-party libraries and putting it as part of their application. And even though those developers doesn't have this malicious intent, but the library has the malicious intent, because of which users are getting compromised actually. Basically, this is an adware. So where once installed, it is trying to list all the applications and get the location of the user. And based on that, so some ads are getting displayed to, and automatically even the ads are getting clicked by this library. No need for the user to click on these ads actually. So with this, they are generating a lot of revenue actually. And Toxic Panda is another such malware which is popular these days actually. It just shows off as a legitimate application like a Google Play Store, Google Chrome or any other genuine application. And it is majorly targeting the banking users to steal their passwords and financial transactions and do some unauthorized transactions actually. And if you see this toxic panda has infected various countries across the globe, and some statistics you can see on my screen actually. And the statistics says Italy is the most infected, but across the globe, many other countries also got infected actually. So, as a normal user, you always have a question. So, how to identify that something bad is happening on my mobile device actually? So they are doing a lot of things in the background. So but in the foreground, nothing is visible. And how I will identify as a normal user that something wrong is happening on my mobile device. Some simple tips how someone can see something wrong is happening. See, without any reason your device is getting overheating. Suppose that means something is some processor intensive task is happening in the background, which may be a malicious activity, and because of which there may be a rapid drainage in your battery actually. So, and also there can be excessive internet usage where the applications are collecting your data and sending these data to remote servers actually. So these are some simple tips to identify something wrong is happening on your device. Okay, then what are the protection measures one can take to secure their mobile devices? See, the attacks can be very, very complex, but I always say the protection measures are simple. Uh, some simple tips, if you follow, at least I can't say that 100% of the attacks you can stop, but at least I can say 90 to 95% of the attacks you can stop by following some simple tips. So the first and foremost important thing is download your applications only from the official app stores and never click on any links and install the applications actually. And regularly update your software to install critical security patches. See, if some attack has happened because of the some application vulnerability or some operating system vulnerability, immediately the application owners are releasing the patches, or even the operating system like Android also releasing the patches. So once you install the patch, your device will be safe against such kind of attacks. But how many of us are regularly updating our applications and operating systems and securing ourselves against these attacks actually? And it is very important for us to monitor our activities, account activity. So regularly monitor what applications are newly getting installed on your device, any hidden applications are there on your device, any banned applications are there, how the network usage is of your device, so how the battery consumption is. So you need to regularly monitor these things to understand any suspicious activities. And if some installation prompts come from untrusted sources, you need to ignore those things. So these are some of the simple tips that one can follow. So you can say like these all I know actually. So and these are regular things only. But yes, these are regular things. So I can assure you for sure that 90-95% of the attacks can definitely be stopped with these kind of simple tips actually. So let me quickly introduce some few terminology which are getting popular, some few concepts which are getting popular. So one is the zero trust architecture and another one is the post-quantum cryptography. So I will briefly introduce what is that ZTA and PQC and how they are relevant to mobile security. Um, and with that, I will end my session actually. Uh, so I believe many of you have heard of this zero trust architecture, so which is becoming very popular these days. But what is this zero trust architecture? So the name itself indicates that zero trust, never trust anyone, whether it is implicit or explicit. That means someone which is who are within the organization, inside the perimeter, or someone or something which is outside the organization. So earlier it was something like someone who is inside the perimeter you can trust, and someone outside your perimeter you should not trust. But now the things have changed, like irrespective of whether he is internal or external, you should not trust anyone. Never trust, and always secure your data, applications, and services actually. And there is a huge growing trend of BYOD. We call it as bring your own device. And these that means your personal devices are being used inside your enterprises to access the business related data. And because of which your business related data is at huge risk. And that is where this kind of zero trust architectures come into picture and help you in securing your enterprise organizations and your data. So what this zero trust security model says? So it tells zero trust devices, never trust any device. Zero trust people, never trust any person who is internal or external. Uh, Zero trust networks, don't trust any network. And zero trust workload, any resources, internal resources, services you have. So basically the thing is don't trust anything, and before giving access to any resource you have to thoroughly authenticate that person and authorize them to a specific resource. So these are some of the important aspects you need to consider as part of the zero trust. Secure all communication. So you need to secure all the communications. That means where you need to encrypt all the communications using SSL and all those things actually, and various cryptographic algorithms are there. And grant least permissions. So if a particular permission is required, that means you to access a particular file, only grant permission to access that particular file. No need to give permission to access all the files in that particular system actually. Even though the person is authenticated, so only give least permissions actually. And grant access to single resource at a time. So as I was mentioning, no need to give access to all the resources. Even if you are authenticating, grant access only to a particular file or a service which the user is requesting for actually. And make access policies dynamic. This is another important aspect of the zero trust. What we mean by dynamic is like, so earlier it is something like if the user has given the username and password, yes, he is authentic and he can access the resources. But now it is not the case. The policy should be enforced dynamically based on the location of the user, uh, and various other aspects. The user behavior also need to be monitored. So if the daily the user's behavior is different and all of a sudden you observe there is a change in the user's behavior, then definitely there should be a dynamic policy and you should restrict the access to a resource to that particular, because you have identified some anomaly. So how you can do this kind of dynamic behavioral analysis is like, so you should heavily use the machine learning and AI algorithms so that you can monitor these behavioral aspects and enforce the policies dynamically. So these are some of the important aspects to be covered as part of the zero trust architecture. And how you can implement this on mobile devices. So use multi-factor authentication. So, and you should focus on the device security by regularly updating the softwares and using stringent passwords and using the encryption for storing of data, and strong network security policies should be there, like using of VPN and avoid using of public Wi-Fi networks. And yes, as an endpoint, you should use some solutions such as the mobile threat defense solutions to detect and mitigate threats actually. So these are some of the aspects to be considered while implementing the zero trust on mobile devices, and regularly assess the security. So what are the benefits of using this zero trust architecture? So overall, reducing the organizational risk. See, one thing is like, as this session is more towards mobile security, I was focusing towards mobile security. But zero trust is not just for mobile device; it is applicable to all the resources in this organization actually. So overall, you can reduce the organizational risk by incorporating zero trust architectures into your organization, and reduce the risk of data breaches. And of course, it supports your compliances also. So let us move on to the next one. So I was mentioning is the next important technology which is booming these days is the post-quantum cryptography. So what is post-quantum cryptography? So before knowing and why it is important actually. So the post-quantum cryptography has come into picture because of the quantum cryptography basically. So our traditional cryptographic algorithms are majorly based on the mathematical models, and currently these systems are considered very secure, and next 100 years are more they were considered to be secure, and if any data is encrypted, it takes at hundreds of years to decrypt those things actually with the existing computational power. So that was the thing. But now with the introduction of the quantum cryptography, so which uses quantum mechanics, which internally, the traditional things are based on mathematical models. This is completely dependent on the quantum mechanics, photons, and more towards the science rather than the maths of it actually. And people say like once the quantum cryptography and the quantum systems become real, whichever algorithm which was assumed to take some 100 years to get cracked may be cracked in 1 hour or 2 hours. So that is the kind of potential you have for the quantum algorithms and quantum cryptography, and how we need to safeguard ourselves once the quantum becomes real. So that is where the importance of post-quantum cryptography comes into picture. So why it is required? So preventing harvest now and decrypt later attacks actually. So what people are doing is now harvest now means, so whatever encrypted data is there, you store all that data with you. You may not have the capability to decrypt that at this point, but once the quantum cryptography becomes real, so you will be able to decrypt all the data which you have stored, the encrypted data which you have stored. So that means you are saving it now and decrypting it later actually. So in order to safeguard ourselves against these kind of attacks, we should move gradually from the traditional cryptographic algorithms to the post-quantum cryptographic algorithms actually. And then, so these algorithms have resilience against the quantum attacks. And currently, so our focus should be on future-proof security. So in the currently we are secured, but in the future also, so we should not get attacked. So we should move on to the post-quantum cryptography. So, but there are some challenges, yes, in incorporating this post-quantum cryptography. So incorporating or integrating these to our current systems. So we need to take care of the integration challenges, interoperability issues, and all those things need to be taken care. And there may be performance constraints initially because the algorithms are not yet matured and standardized. And yes, NIST is working towards standardization of these post-quantum cryptographic algorithms. So it has standardized some two algorithms as of now. That is the Crystal Kyber for key encapsulation mechanisms and Crystal Dilithium for digital signatures. And yes, many research organizations are also working towards strengthening this ecosystem of post-quantum cryptography. So we can assume that yes, even if the quantum comes, so we will be safe with the post-quantum cryptography. So I would like to end my session with a brief introduction of various mobile security products or solutions offered at our CDAC actually. So one is the mKavach 2, which is a mobile device security solution currently for Android devices, which is freely available for download in the Google Play Store. Someone can just go to the Play Store and type mKavach 2 as you see in the on the screen, and then you can download and install it. It has various features like threat analyzer, which will scan the complete applications and check if any malicious or suspicious applications are installed on your device. It is a lightweight ML based model actually, and also there are features such as identifying of apps if any hidden applications are installed on your device, if any banned applications are installed on your device, whether you are securely configured your device or there are any security misconfigurations. The mKavach app will identify those security misconfigurations and notifies the user that so there are some security misconfigurations. You can correct them by going into your settings and properly managing your configurations actually. So currently there are more than 2 million downloads. So I request you all, whoever in the session, also to download our mKavach 2 app and secure your mobile devices actually. And along with that, we have mPrabandh, which is a mobile device management solution for enterprises, where enterprises can manage all their enterprise-related mobile devices through a centralized dashboard actually. And then we have other solutions like Vishleshak and Parikshan. Basically, those are for Vishleshak is a platform for performing malware and threat analysis, and Parikshan is a platform for performing vulnerability analysis of Android-based mobile applications. So I request you to go to our website cdac.in and go to the products, cybersecurity products, and go through our solutions in detail. And if someone is interested in any of our solutions, you can contact us and we can take it further actually. So with this, I would like to end my session. So we can take up any questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful and enlightening session. And there is one question, I think we'll just take it up right now. And yeah, in the meantime, participants, if you have any quick questions, please post it so that we'll ask sir and we will move on to the next session. Right. Thank you. Sir, like the question is like this. Normal crypto can breakable with quantum computing?
Yes. So once the quantum cryptography becomes real, lot of research is going on currently on quantum cryptography. So with the current capabilities of quantum cryptography, it may not be breakable, but yes, in the future, once the quantum capabilities increase, the complete normal crypto can be breakable, not in years, in hours it can be breaked actually.
Okay, that's good. That's great. That's great. And next question, normal crypto can breakable with quantum. Sir. Thank you, sir, for the informative knowledge. Could download mKavach will hamper mobile settings or not? Okay. Sir, my mobile has already antivirus installed. Will downloading mKavach will hamper mobile settings or not?
No, no, not at all, sir. So our mKavach and your antivirus solutions will complement each other actually, and so you can easily and safely you can download our mKavach application and use it for your securing your mobile device actually.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your session. Like from starting to like crypto, you took us, and you're also nicely talked about the zero trust things, related things. All right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all
Sir,
the participants.
sorry, sir. Like one more question, I think, which has come just now.
Sir.
Identify phone is attacked or not. Any other technical things, please mention.
Okay, sir. So
Identify phone is attacked or not. Any technical things, please
So,
mention.
as a human, these are the major parameters, sir. Because if anything is attacked, if device is attacked, so definitely your battery consumption is going to increase. So if you see any weird behavior of your mobile device, like the applications are running in the background and consuming a lot of your memory or consuming a lot of your bandwidth or this. All those things network, so you need to monitor these things, sir. So as a normal user, these are the basic parameters you need to look into. Further, if you want to secure your mobile device, definitely you need to install an antivirus solution, such as our or any other secure solution such as our mKavach actually.
Okay, sir. I think one more question. Getting danger warning after install the mKavach on two apps.
Mm,
Sir, can you share your mobile number in the chat, personal to Jagdish sir or to MK Chaitanya? We will get back to you.
All right. Sir, actually, in that, from my experience, in that application, you have to go and check which are those applications. You go and click on that applications, then you will come to know like what are the permissions which you have given. So if you revoke those permissions, I think it will become a normal applications. So please check those things, sir. Okay. So thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful session and enlightening session. And we will move on to the next session, right?
okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So next session which we are having is demystifying this security and trust in blockchain platforms. So to deal with this session, we have with us Madam Josna, ma'am, and she is a scientist at CDEC Hyderabad. In last 18 years, she was involved in design and development of various cybersecurity and blockchain projects, and she is a Hyperledger Fabric certified practitioner, which is on a Linux Foundation, and also GIAC certified mobile device security analyst, which is a SANS, and she has contributed to 15 plus technical papers published, and is another author of a patent. Her areas of interest including Web3, blockchain technology, network security, operating systems, and Linux internal and embedded device security. So with this vast experience, we welcome you, ma'am, for this session, and thank you, ma'am, for joining with us. And over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for giving this opportunity to share the idea, whatever we have, to all the members who have joined this. I'm just sharing my screen. Give me a minute. Hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Make it full screen, ma'am.
Yes. 1 second. Right. So this is the title, Demystifying Security and Trust in Blockchain. Hope people over here are aware of blockchain or at least heard about blockchain. So if you're not heard about it, I'll just introduce you to what are the building blocks to the blockchain, and then probably go to the next topics. So the basic agenda, something is like this. We will talk about the terminology which is relevant to blockchain, which are building blocks to blockchain, then blockchain transactions, what are blocks, what is consensus, smart contract, and finally I'll give a justification to the title, how it provides security and trust in a blockchain. So coming to the basic terminology, hope everyone understands this cryptography. Um, Right. Cryptography is something art of secret writing. We write something but not understandable to the other person until and unless you know the pattern of how I have written it. So that's the cryptography. So the cryptanalysis is if I give the crypted message to you, you break it, understand what is that from different messages, how did I communicate and everything. Then without knowing the algorithm that I have utilized, so that is called cryptanalysis. So cryptology is a combination of cryptography and cryptanalysis. It's a branch. These two are the branches under cryptology. So going further into, we'll be talking about only cryptography here, because that is the standard for giving a security to any of the thing, basic building block. So here the cryptographic algorithms, if I talk about, we do have two types, symmetric key and asymmetric key. There's another one, important one, which gives the integrity check called hash. So this symmetric key is also called as secret key cryptography, and asymmetric key generally is known as a public key cryptography. So we interchangeably use all these words. So symmetric key is we have the same key with us and we have a plain text. We'll convert this plain text into a ciphertext using this key and through passing through an algorithm. And the same key will be utilized for decrypting that ciphertext into a plain text. But the challenge over here is, how do I share the key? Because we are talking about security, I cannot openly publicly disclose my secret key. Because it is termed as a secret key, I have to maintain it secret. So this is the challenge. But to understand, this gives a better performance in by any compared to any other algorithms, because the same key is utilized. The decryption algorithms and encryption algorithms are not that complex here, but it gives the strength. But sharing the key is the most important thing. The second one is your public key cryptography. In the previous case, we are using the same key. Hopefully, we understand that these two keys are same by look and feel. But in a public cryptography, we have two keys. One we call it as a private key, and the other one we call it as a public key. So private key, as mentioned, it will be with me. If that key pair is owned by me, private key is with me, and public key, I can distribute it to anyone. Because they will be only one-way operation until and unless I have my, I don't get my private key compromised, there is no challenge in that. So this can be used for providing the confidentiality, authentication, and the third important thing is key distribution. So first thing, because we were falling short of how do I distribute this key? So for that, we can use public key cryptography. So to distribute that key. But apart from key distribution, how do I get this confidentiality and authentication? So confidentiality is I have some plain text, but I encrypt with your public key. In a way, assume that I have my private key and you have my public key. So if you want to send a message to me, you can encrypt a message with my public key. So who will be able to decrypt it? Only the person who has the corresponding private key, which is nothing but myself. So it comes to me and only I will be able to see the text. So this gives me the confidentiality. The other way around, if I change these keys from here to here, if I'm signing with a private key and like broadcasting the message, whoever has the public key, they will be able to decrypt it. What this means is they'll be able to know that because the corresponding public key has decrypted, it means this private key is utilized. It means the person associated with that private key is authentic. So that's how it gives us the confidentiality and the authentication. So the next one is the, so now instead of, as I said in the previous thing, as I said, it is used for key distribution. How do we utilize this? So I will, instead of this plain text, you assume that this is the symmetric key. So you keep the key, encrypt it with your private key and send it. Whoever has a public key, they will be able to decrypt it. So by that, only known people will be having those keys, and from there the communication can further go ahead. So the third part is hash. So hash is, we are talking about cryptography, confidentiality and authenticity. CIA triad, if I consider it in security. So I is the thing which talks about the integrity check. So with this example, it would be better. So if I have this input, whatever it is, I will just pass on through one of the hashing algorithm and it gives me an output. The pink one is the output. So the output, we call it as a digest. But if you have observed, whatever be the length of the input, the output has the same length. So, and the reverse process of this, it means if I give the digest, I will not be able to identify what is the input. So this is only one way. I have an input, I'll get the digest. So I have hello message with me. So I'll generate a digest to that and then share the message and the digest to you. What you have to do, how do you check whether the integrity is maintained or not? Run the same algorithm on hello message. You'll get some output, the digest too. Now compare what I have sent and what you have calculated. If both are same, then we assume that there's no change in the input. With this, we get the integrity of the message. So if you look on, there's a small change here. The red fox jumps over the blue dog. V is there. Instead of V, it has changed to U in the next message. And the two letters are interchanged. OVER, OEVR. And here one letter is missing. So with these, just one letter change, if you have seen the output, completely different. So with a small change in the input, there is a drastic change in the output. We call this as avalanche effect actually. So what are these hash functions and where we'll be using it? The properties are, one is collision free. It means no two inputs will have the same output. This should be the property of an algorithm. MD5 is one of the algorithm, but it's broken. It means they found the collision actually. So hiding is something, when you look at this digest, this is what is the output. Can you decode any message, input message from here, from this digest? No way, right? So we are hiding the entire information. And this is puzzle friendly, difficult to solve, but easy to verify. So easy to verify is nothing but I have given X to you, you calculate and check. I said hello, right? Hello, I have sent it to you. And this will be the message, digest. So you can recalculate and then verify. Verification is easy. But I will say HELL and a dash. I don't tell you what letter does that dash has. And then I'll tell you that with that dash, if you go on randomly choosing an alphabet, fill up and then find it, you should get this digest. That would be my question. So in this case, I can say FO. The third letter is missing. You have to identify the third letter. It could be fur, it could be anything else, fog, it could be fox, anything. So you keep on guessing one after the other. What would be the third letter? So solving or getting this word out from the two letters with a missing one letter to meet this digest is solving a puzzle sort of a thing. So it is difficult to solve, but easy to verify. So these hash functions are puzzle friendly generally. So why did I talk about these things? Is we will be using symmetric keys, asymmetric keys, and hash functions. Generally, public key crypto, yes, all three will be using it. At least two we are using it. Symmetric and asymmetric and hash in blockchain. Where do we use it? I'll just tell you in a while. So now coming to a blockchain. So blockchain is a peer-to-peer network. If you if you have a centralized system, we have all the data at one place. This is purely at the back end of the system. It is not a UI or it is not a backend service. It is something where you are, it's a combination of your backend service and the databases. What happens in a centralized database is, um, if you go and modify any of the thing directly into the database, no one get to know what changes have happened, etc., etc. So here they have come back with something called peer-to-peer network. It means that there will be multiple people in the network which acts as a server and as well as a client. So if even if one of the server goes down, the other three will be able to solve the purpose. They will give the response to that. As it is a server, a copy of the database will all be there at 4 places. If I'm talking about 4 nodes in a blockchain. So everyone will be talking to each other and they will be syncing the database through a protocol called peer-to-peer protocol. Overlay networks will be used in this. So what is the purpose of this? It enables multiple authoritative domains who don't trust each other, but they have to cooperate, coordinate, and collaborate in a decision making generally. For that purpose, we utilize blockchain. So it gives us transparency and it is tamper evident, secure, programmable. Probably just these are words, but I will just go through one link. Yes. We'll just go for one link here. Hopefully, with this, everyone will understand what a blockchain is. Right. So this is how a block looks like. Every block has a number associated with that, some nonce value, and this is the data part. And data can be a pool of transactions. So what is a transaction? If I send you a hello message, I can tell that as a transaction. If I pay 10 rupees for buying a chocolate, that is also a transaction. So all the data can be here actually. Okay, this will be the part of the data. And if you observe, there is something called previous and there is something called hash. So the previous is nothing but there will be a previous block because it's a blockchain. So, right, this is how it is. Linkage of all the blocks sequence. Just here we had 5 blocks here for the demonstration. So this is block 1, block 2, block 3. This is an identifier, block 4 and block 5. And if you have observed the previous node is 0, 0, 0, that field is 0, it means that this is the first block and we call this as a genesis block. And the hash of this block, the first block, is there in the hash of the next block. So hash, we are using it here. This is why I've just introduced hash over there. So it means that whenever I'm going to the previous block, it will verify the hash of this, whether I'm talking to the correct block or not with this thing. Now, if I edit this, if you have observed, all blocks have turned red. And if you have checked this, the hash here are same. But how is it able to identify that there is something wrong in this? It is because now it has turned green. If you look on the first 4 digits in this hash, only first 4, 4 zeros, 4 zeros, 4 zeros, 4 zeros. So everyone would have heard about a Bitcoin cryptocurrency. So this is a replica of that, we can say. So hash is nothing but it will tell you, the network will tell you that this is the data with me, hello, hi, or something. Okay, we are working on a seminar, something like this. With this data, okay, I should get a hash prefixed with 4 zeros. That is the problem or a challenge thrown by the network. Then someone has to, these are the 3 transactions. Okay, hello is one transaction, hi is another transaction, seminar is another one, and I've paid 10 rupees. This could be another transaction. So 4 transactions, we are clubbing it together. Now these 4 transactions will be grouped together to form a block. So that we call it as a block 1. Okay, so now, but it did not meet my criteria. The hash should be prefixed with 4 zeros. So I'll keep on mining it. If you have checked it, this number has changed, nonce. With the same data, with a change of nonce, I am getting 4 zeros at the beginning. Now check the nonce here. 15208. Now, if I mine this again, because there is no data here, but the previous hash has changed, the hash of this will change now. Again, I'll keep on mining. 1785. With that nonce value, I got this hash. So again, I have to mine it. Again, I have to mine all the blocks. Again, I have to mine all the blocks. So what did we understand from this? I cannot change one of the transaction in the blockchain at any cost. If I change it, the blockchain will break. So I have to again construct the blocks from the beginning. So it is tamper evident. It is giving me a proof that we have some transactions went somewhere it is wrong. So now I just said one blockchain. This is nothing but one database at one place. But we said it's a distributed network. It can be across many nodes. So it will be like this. Everyone will have a copy. So if I change something here in one of the copy, this chain is termed now some problem, but the other two chains are still alive. So they will tell that something is wrong with this chain and they will be able to identify what went wrong. So this isn't just about the blockchain. I'm going back. So whatever we have seen it now, probably it makes a sense to us. It is transparent because, as I said, every node will have a copy of a ledger itself. So everyone will be able to see what is going on. Tamper evident. Something I'm changing the data, everything is turning red. It is secure because it is backed with cryptography. Programmable is nothing but your smart contracts, basically. So how is this trust coming into picture? Probably in the coming up slides, I'll let you know. And these are time stamped. Every transaction is time stamped. There is no single point of failure because even if one node goes down, we do have another nodes to serve it. It is immutable database and it is efficient in a way. So this is how it happens. There is a ledger and the client initiates a transaction. So it goes to the peer-to-peer network. So these are all the nodes in the network. We call this as a peer-to-peer because every node is connected to any other node. These are nothing but your computer nodes or VM nodes or any other thing. So it will be sent to a group of networks. Then everyone will validate whether this is correct or not. So there comes, but how do I validate this transaction? Someone has to tell me what are the rules to validate, right? So those rules are the business logic particular to this workflow. We call it as a smart contract. So everyone will have a smart contract with them, everyone. So the workflow or the business logic, now they cannot even tamper that workflow also. The transaction goes to them, they will simulate it and then say that, yes, it is correct. Then it will be sent to an ordering service or a mining. They will add a block. Before adding a block also, everyone will again verify. So this updated ledger now will be there with everyone. So once I have the block added to the ledger, a client can verify the details from the blockchain easily. So this is how the transactions happen in a blockchain in a simpler sense. So we have seen what a block, what is a blockchain? A block, a collection of transactions. A hash, we have it. A chain, they're linked to each other with the hash of the previous block. We have a consensus mechanism and a smart contract. I'll get back to these two things. So this is the block, we have seen everything. So this is the body, which is nothing but the data, transaction 1, 2, 3. A new thing has come up into this block header called a Merkle root. So Merkle root is till here. Apart from this, we call it as a block header. We have named it here. It is a block header. So all the transactions in this, one after the other hash is calculated and formed a Merkle root. It means if I change this, the Merkle root changes. So if I look on here, transaction A and B, C, D, A, B, C, D are in one block. So transaction A hash is calculated. B's hash is also calculated. Similarly, C and D. So two hashes grouped together, again calculate the hash. Two hashes grouped together, again calculate the hash. Again calculate these two and get the root. So we'll end up with one hash value, that we call it as a Merkle root. So this helps us to identify any of the transaction is present in the chain or not. It has got its own logic. I'm not getting into that in this short time. So now coming back to consensus, consensus is nothing but an agreement. So because we have multiple nodes in the blockchain, how do I come to an agreement on one transaction, whether I should be okay with the transaction, should I allow it or deny it? So consensus allows us to do this. They even if there are some see, because in this visualization, if I'm not wrong, we have seen it. Even if one node is behaving wrong, the other two nodes will tell me, yes, this is right. So only from this person, from peer A, we get the wrong thing. But from peer B and peer C, we get it right. So in a way, if the majority of people tell me, yes, this is correct, then I'll trust it, right? So you are giving a trust uh, defined in the design of the blockchain itself. In the previous session also, we were talking about zero trust and everything. So now I'm not trusting on a transaction directly, but it is built inherently through this consensus algorithms. And the smart contracts are nothing but traditional contracts are on a paper. So and so, if you pay the money, I will hand over the keys to your apartment. If you pay initial amount or something, then it will be mortgaged to bank and they have to follow some procedure. You have to pay the EMIs. Once everything is cleared, then they will transfer it. So everything will be included in this paper contract. The same logic, we keep it in a program basically. So that program will be deployed on all the nodes in the blockchain, wherever it is. So now, if a transaction happens, everyone understands based upon this smart contract what is the current stage of that. They can simulate the transaction based on the smart contract. If everyone agrees, majority of them say yes, 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 okay, then I get the trust and then I say that yes, this transaction is accepted. So smart contract is like heart to the blockchain, how a transaction has to be processed. The core business logic goes into the smart contract. So smart contract, the best thing is, as this is deployed across all the nodes in the network, if I want to modify this, again, that's a bigger challenge to me because I have to go to all nodes and then change that code. So it becomes impossible to tamper or hack the smart contract. It means your workflow, your heart of the complete solution is tamper proof. It reduces the cost of verification and execution. We can prevent frauds with this, and it's a transparent contract definition because everyone has a copy with them. You need not bluff, or I need not bluff. So that is how trust coming into picture. We have distributed ledger, multiple copies of the ledger are maintained. So any change in the ledger, again, they have to be verified and agreed upon the majority of the nodes. So the consensus mechanism, everyone agreeing or not agreeing, this builds us the trust. Another way is through the smart contracts. So we have written all the agreements into the code. Now no one can change it. So it is automated process and there are no errors and disputes. So by default, we get the trust from the blockchain, and it is transparent and auditability because as I said, it's an immutable database. You cannot change any of the data in the database just like that. You have to add another transaction saying that that data is nullified. Now you consider this. So both will be there. So this gives me an audit trail for easy and understanding purpose. And by default, it is secure because it is using cryptographic techniques. And once the data is recorded, it cannot be altered. It is giving me a hash proofed mechanism. It ensures even data integrity and security, integrity with respect to all the transactions through Merkle root. All such things packed together will give me a blockchain with trust and security in one package. So with brief, what we are doing at CDAC in the blockchain area, I'll cover it in another 2-3 minutes and then wind up the session. we are working on something called National Blockchain Framework. We named the technology stack as Vishwasya. As I said, that's a distributed network. It is very difficult to deploy a blockchain network across multiple DCs, and there are many technical challenges also. And we have to write that smart contracts in an efficient way such that that goes properly and makes a transaction entry into the blockchain. So we have reduced the time of setting up that network and deploying that smart contract through this technology framework. As it is amalgamation of different technologies put together across the stack, we are giving a security. And all the platforms that we have used for setting up the blockchain network are all hardened. Everything is thoroughly audited, and we'll be providing the APIs. As I said, this is a combination of your server and the backend database. But where will the UI comes from? So you can develop it, or if you have an existing system, you can integrate it with the blockchain thing. So that's about it. And a lighter version of this, if you don't want to get into setting up a network, deployment process and everything, we are giving a light version of that. We call it as an NBF Lite, where you can utilize it for rapid prototyping or capacity building activities, or just to conduct some experiments. What we offer under that is a Hyperledger Fabric and Sawtooth platforms. For a single node setup, it will be very quick to set up the network and deploy the smart contract. These smart contracts also, we are giving some templates to you, so you can change it and then upload it and then check it actually. So this becomes your setup time and deployment time reduces drastically with this. This can be offered for free of cost, NBF Lite. All the academicians or research institutes or scholars, they can download it and then work on this. So one more thing, probably the previous session from my side was the Android app security trends and everything was talked about. So we are offering one course, Demystifying Android App Security. This is the syllabus. If you want to get more into Android app security, how it is given, how do you analyze the app, mobile app and everything, you can get registered to this. The basic prerequisites is core Java minimal, you have to understand, and Linux commands and the Linux environment. We are starting it from Monday. Nevertheless, it is not late. You can still give us your registrations to this. Followed at the end of the course, we do have a small assessment and then we issue a certificate, which is offered for free. No cost is included in this. So we are offering for 3 categories actually. One for government officers training. One is a career aspirants, where the students can enroll, or if you're looking for a change in the technology or move on to another technology, working professionals also can register under career aspirants. And the third category is students who are very much interested into mobile app development, security per se, and everything. This is a very detailed one. The first 2 are offered for 5 days, starting from Monday to Friday, and then followed by one small assessment. But this is conducted in 3 stages. One stage is 1 week program, next Monday to Friday, followed by 25 people will be shortlisted from that group, and they will be called to CDAC premises online, and then 3-day training will be provided to them. Then best out of them will be going to the hackathon. So this leads to an hackathon. This is for career aspirants or the college students, and this is for government officers training. So if you are interested, please scan these QR codes and get registered to that. So that's it from my side. If you want anything to know more about the blockchain and the initiatives, you can write to me at sidacchain@sidac.in. I'll keep these QR codes for your benefit. That's it from my side. If any queries are there, we'll take it up.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your enlightening session. Enlightening session. I think you are on dot, like you have completed your session within the 30 minutes. So, sir, ma'am, if you have any questions, you please let us know in the chat area so that madam will answer. And please utilize all these options. I think there are so many academicians are there. academicians, students, and government officials are there. So request you all use this opportunity. Okay.
Does quantum computing can impact blockchain? The algorithms, whatever we are utilizing in blockchain, at least few of the blockchains, there is a pluggable modules. As and when we get some post quantum or any other strong crypto algorithms which are resilient to attacks, we can replace that. So nothing going to change that early, because breaking or standardizing that algorithm itself takes another 5 to 6 years, if I'm not wrong. Still, it is in probably they're just study phase. Only a key distribution, quantum key distribution, is a successful thing. Beyond that, there is a lot of challenge. And in the market also, the relevant technologies or the technology stack is still not available. So it takes long time. Meanwhile, we are safe to go with this thing, no issues at all.
Excuse me.
Any other questions, or I'm just,
Okay.
shall I stop sharing the screen? Hope if people are interested, can government junior officer can apply. Please apply it under government officers training. We will scrutiny that application. If you doesn't fall into that group, we will move it to career aspirants. We will shift to the relevant groups. Don't worry. Please get registered.
Ma'am, can any retired government officer can participate in the above training program?
They can come under career aspirants.
Okay.
Huh.
All right. Thank you. Thank you
Because
so much.
the problem is we have to get a HOD or relevant officer cross signature again. The officer himself and his head or someone should sign on the nomination form here in this case. But here it is a self-signed saying that I'm nominating myself to this course.
Okay.
That's the only difference.
Okay, ma'am. Can you give some reference to study from?
Blockchain, there's lot of information available publicly. We have something called blockchain.meity.gov.in.
Okay.
Blockchain.meity, meity.gov.in. That's a portal from our side, again, as a part of NBF, Vishwasya, National Blockchain Technology Framework. It is a part of that. We give little information about it. If you want to know more, I think we have Google with us.
Sir, as madam told, like we please write to that email ID.
Yes,
So that madam will
sorry.
respond, sir.
Yeah,
this is
CDAC@CDAC.in. If you're interested in development of any of the blockchain based applications, we do take it up. And if you want to have a setup at your college for blockchain experiments, we do take it up. So if you have any requirement, do let us know.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Sunil, sir, you please send me details later. So I will just check it. Can you give me some reference? Mobile contacts, I think there may not be any issue, such kind of thing. All right. CDAC chain. Yeah, CDAC chain. You can just respond to that CDAC chain so that people will respond to it.
Yeah. CDAC chain @CDAC.in. I'm putting it in the chat box also for your thing.
It was there, ma'am. It was already there, ma'am. Already there.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your session.
Thank you all. Thank you.
All right. So, of course, as we are having limited time, like we are going very fast. Okay, because like we have to of course, like we don't want to do it in the middle, but we will continue. Don't worry. All right. So I hope both the sessions are useful. So now we will move on to the machine learning in cybersecurity. I think many of the people are looking for this kind of session. This is another enlightening session, which is going to be dealt by T. Sai Gopal sir, who is working as a scientist at CDAC Hyderabad, and he's also having 17 plus years of experience in various domains. So this is machine learning is one of the emerging area where he is based in, and he is doing a lot of R&D in this in this particular domain. So he is having a lot of experience in various domains, including the machine learning. So with this small introduction, I request sir to take over the session. So over to you, sir. Sai Gopal sir, over to you. Sai Gopal sir, are you there? Sai Gopal sir, over to you.
Just a minute. He's checking with the mic actually.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, please let me know so that we will try to respond to those queries. And Sunil sir, I think I think you are asking, it is not possible, sir. Mobile contact names. Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, sir. You are audible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Over to you, sir. Please continue the session.
So are you able
You
to
can
see
share
the
the screen, sir.
not? Are you able to see the screen?
No. Please share, sir. Please share the screen.
Okay.
All right. Okay, sir. Make it full screen, sir, so that it will be visible.
Okay.
My presentation. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about machine learning for cyber security. So as you all are aware that machine learning or AI is a buzzword. So everywhere we started using machine learning in every field actually. So in today's session, we are going to talk about like I will going to cover a little bit of cyber security and what are the different use cases of machine learning in cyber security. Okay, so this is the agenda. So I'll be talking briefly on the cyber security, like basic issues and what are the challenges and how machine learning can be used to solve these problems. And finally, I will touch upon a little bit of on machine learning adversarial attacks. Okay, so this is the agenda of the today's session. So we'll start with the malware. I think many of you are aware malware is nothing but a malicious software which is installed on the end system without the user consent. Once the malware is installed on the end system, it will steal the information, it will steal the confidential information, or it can disturb the system. So anything it can do. So I think many of you are already aware what are the different types of malware. So when you talk about the different types of malwares, we have virus, worm, bot, rootkit, spyware, Trojan horse, Trojan, and ransomware. Because these are some of the types of the malware that you often see when you study any of these malware analysis report. So first we'll start. What is a virus? So a virus is not an independent program. A virus always attached to a legitimate file. So a legitimate file in the sense a PDF or a PPT or an audio file or a video file. So when I talk about virus, it always attaches to a legitimate file. So whenever the virus attaches to a legitimate file, what happens is when you open this file, okay. So when you say when I'm saying this, this virus is attached to a legitimate file, the combination is called a malicious file actually. Okay. So whenever we open a malicious file, what will happen is that this virus get triggered and your system get infected. Okay, so when we talk about worm, worm is an independent program. Okay, it need not attach itself with any of the legitimate files. When a system is infected with the worm, it can replicate itself over the network. That means that once the system is infected with the worm, it tries to spread across the network to achieve its final object. Okay, so next type of malware is bot. So bot is nothing but a compromised system. Okay, a collection of bots is nothing but a botnet. That means that a collection of compromised systems is called a botnet. Okay, so generally attacker or the adversary uses this botnet to carry out various kinds of attacks. So most commonly used botnet attack is DDoS attack. Okay, distributed denial of service attack. Okay, the other one is rootkit. So most of the malwares what we talk is a user space application, but rootkit is somewhat a sophisticated application where it will attach itself as a part of an operating system. So therefore detecting the rootkit is a little bit challenging because it will tries to hide its presence because it is attached to the operating system. Detecting is a little bit challenging. Okay, the next malware is spyware. So when you talk about a spyware, these types of malware spies on the user habits and sends this information to the attacker. Okay, The other type of malware is a Trojan. So you might have seen the Trojan Horse movie. So this Trojan is also a similar kind. This Trojan try to disguise as a legitimate process, okay, but internally designed to carry out malicious activities. And recently, this ransomware malwares are coming a lot. Actually, if you see the malware attacks, there is a lot of rise in the ransomware attacks. So whenever a system is infected with the ransomware, what happens is the ransomware is going to encrypt the complete file system, okay, and makes it inaccessible to the user. So the user can't use the operating system until it is decrypted. So to decrypt this file system, the ransomware will demand some ransom. So until the ransom is paid, the file system will not be decrypted. It is also not guaranteed to be decrypted though the ransomware is paid. Okay, so this is the type of the behavior of the ransomware. Okay, so these are the different types of malware. So how does these malwares will be delivered to the user? So generally we'll call this as an initial vectors. So these are the some of the ways in which the malware will be delivered to the end user, will be delivered to the victim. Okay, so for popular, the first one is phishing. You might already aware that like whenever you talk about a phishing attack, okay, the adversary disguises himself as a trusted source and sends an email to all the users. Okay, so this email contains malicious links, malicious attachments, or malicious links or malicious attachment. So if the user clicks if any one of the user clicks this link or an attachment, automatically the system gets infected. Okay, the second is spear phishing. So when you talk about phishing, it is a general, means the attack is on the general public. When you talk about a spear phishing attack, it is more a kind of targeted attack. So whenever adversary want to target a specific organization or a specific person within an organization, they are going to use this kind of spear phishing attack. So when they are targeting a specific group, the content of the email will be in such a way that the victim, the content should lure the victim to click the link. Okay, so that content will be framed in such a way that it lures the victim to open the link. Okay, so the other way is using the removable media. So the virus, worms, trojans and all can spread using the removable media. The other one is malicious website. Whenever a user visits some of the malicious website, the malware will be downloaded into the system and gets infected. So the email attachment I have already told earlier. The other way is common approach is like exploiting the vulnerabilities. So most of the time what happens is that there will be unpatched softwares that are publicly exposed. So attacker can use these vulnerabilities in the software to gain an entry into the system. So these are the some of the initial vectors through which the malware can enter into the system. Okay, so this is I already told about phishing attack. So in this, the attacker is trying to disguise as an income tax officer and trying to get the details of the user. Okay, so now till now what I have told you is that I have explained you the what are the different types of malware and how generally an malware is delivered. So now I'm going to explain you like how an attack generally happens over the network. Okay, so this so generally when we talk about any cyber attack, it is always a multi-stage attack. It is not a single stage. Okay, the attack happened over multiple stages. Okay, so now in this slide I'm going to talk about a D-track Trojan. Okay, so D-track is a Trojan which steals the confidential information of the financial information of the user, such as the username and password of the banking sites. Okay, so whenever this attack happens, it happens over the multiple phases, not over a single phase. So the stages of the malware stages are being highlighted with numbers. So total there are 6 stages. Like first one is reconnaissance, second one is weaponizing and delivery, third one is exploitation, fourth one is installation and command and control, fifth one is network propagation, Sixth one is objective. So now I'm going to explain you about the reconnaissance. So whenever you talk about a reconnaissance, what the attacker will do is the attacker is going to do two types of reconnaissance. One is active reconnaissance, the other one is passive reconnaissance. So in the active reconnaissance, what does the attacker will do is attacker will try to understand what are the different applications or websites that are hosted on the organization. What are the ports that are open? Whether those applications are patched or not. All this information he tries to get it. In the passive reconnaissance, we'll try to get the maximum information of the organization from the internet, like the employees information, the employees mail IDs, employees phone number. So all these information he is used to get. So once the reconnaissance is being done, the next phase is weaponization. Based on the information collected by the in the reconnaissance phase, the attacker is going to create a malicious payload. Okay, so once the payload is being created, this payload has to be delivered to the user or to an organization. So what he do is he will attach this payload uh, to one of the legitimate files like PDF, Word, or audio or video file. Okay, and he is going to send an email. Okay, for example, he is using a phishing attack. Okay, so what he do is he is going to attach these malicious files and draft a email and sends to all the people in the particular organization. Okay, so this is the delivery. So the delivery of the payload is through the email. So once the email goes to the all the people in an organization, so if any one of the person in an organization click the attachment, clicks the malicious files, what will happen is that the malware gets downloaded. So this is nothing but an exploitation phase. So once the malware gets downloaded, the next step is the malware will execute on the system and will install on the organization system. Okay, so this phase we will be calling as an installation and command and control. Okay, so once the malware is installed on the end system, okay, so malware will communicate to the command and control unit. So sometimes what happens is this malware can download the secondary payload. Okay, so which is more malicious than the primary payload. Okay, for carrying out the further activities. So once the secondary malware is downloaded, it will be installed, and this secondary payload will try to spread across the organization. Okay, in the fifth phase. So once the malware spreads across the organization, okay, it finally tries to get its objective. The objective of the attacker can be stealing the data or encrypting the file. Okay, so this is how the attack will happen. So generally we call this as a cyber kill chain. So the cyber kill chain, this is a theoretical model which is given by the Lockheed Martin, okay, which contains 7 stages like reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, and finally the actions and the objectives. Okay, so this is a theoretical model that has come up to define to tell you that the cyber attack is a multi-stage attack. Okay, so the another model come up is a MITRE attack. Okay, so MITRE attack is also represents the multi-stage attack, but it also gives you more information about how the attacks takes place. Okay, so MITRE attack stands for A stands for adversary, T stands for tactic, this T stands for technique. So adversary, tactic, technique, and common knowledge. Okay, so MITRE attack framework provides you a lot of information about the adversary, tactics, and techniques. Okay, so the first header tell you what are the different phases of the malware. This header tell you what are the different phases of the malware. Okay, so there are around 12 stages. Okay, so this is nothing but tactics. Okay, initial access is one tactic, execution is one tactic, persistence is one tactic, privilege escalation is one tactic, so on. Okay, so each tactic can be achieved by one of many techniques. Okay, so if attacker can execute one of the technique on this, okay, if the attacker is able to succeed in one of the technique, this stage is completed. Okay, so the MITRE attack framework will give you a lot of information how the adversary is going to execute the cyber attack. Okay, so for more information you can visit this particular website, MITRE attack website. Okay, okay, so now till this point I've explained you about the malware, how the delivery happens, how a cyber attack happens. So now I'm going to talk about how the endpoint detection works. Like you have an antivirus, okay, you have a EDRs. How does this antivirus works to detect these kind of attacks? Okay, so generally they follow four approaches. One is signature based detection, second one is heuristic analysis, third one is behavior analysis, fourth one is machine learning. So when you talk about signature based detection, so what does the signature based detection will do is that whenever new malware comes, they are going to derive a pattern that uniquely identify the malware. Okay, so using this pattern, they are going to identify the malware. So this pattern will be added into the database of the antivirus. So any whenever any process starts within the system, this process so this process will be checked against the database. Okay, against the database. If it does not match, it means that the process is a not a malware. If it matches, the process is a malware. So this is how the antivirus will work actually. Okay, so mostly they follow the signature based detection. The first approach that they are going to follow is the signature based detection. So but the problem with the signature based detection is that whenever a new malware comes, this antivirus does not have a signature, so they can't this signature based detection is only effective if you know for only for the known malware. For the unknown malware, this signature based detection does not work. So because of this reason, most of the antivirus uses the two approaches. One is heuristic analysis followed by the behavior analysis. So in the heuristic analysis, what they try to do is they try to identify the patterns. Like for example, when you talk about a keylogger, so what does the keylogger will do? The keylogger will have a some module which will enter. The keylogger will have a driver which will insert into the operating system and try to hook the keyboard. Okay, so that means that any process that is trying to hook the keyboard will be raised flag. Okay, so that comes under a heuristic analysis. But the problem with the heuristic analysis and behavior analysis is there are a lot of false positives, but you can detect the new malware. Okay, so in the behavior analysis, the focus is more on the actions of the process. Like whenever a process executes within the system, it is going to do a lot of operations on the files, a lot of network operations it is going to do, a lot of registry operations it is going to do. Based on the registry, file, and network operation, the antivirus is going to judge whether it is a malicious or a genuine thing. But the problem with these both approaches is that heuristic and behavior analysis is that a lot of false positives are possible. Okay, you need to minimize it. So therefore, many of these antivirus have started using machine learning or AI for detecting the new malware. Okay, so this where, so if you see most of the antivirus these days, these having the machine learning or AI built into it. Okay, but it is only as a complementary feature. Okay, it is only as a complementary feature, not a complete replacement of the traditional security. Okay, so this is why we are going to use the machine learning. So now I'm going to little bit cover on the machine learning part, then we'll quickly move to the use cases of the machine learning in cyber security. Okay, so whenever you talk about the machine learning, so we always talk about a ability of the program to learn without being explicitly programmed. Okay, this is the basic definition of the machine learning. So when you talk about the different types of the machine learning, we have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, semi-supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Okay, so when you talk about supervised learning algorithms, we always talk about a labeled data. So labeled data is always represented using X and Y. Okay, so the model is trained on the labeled data. Okay, if the output of the variable is a discrete variable, so we call it comes under classification. If the output variable is a continuous variable, it will falls under regression. So for example, like given a malware, you want to identify it whether it is a malicious or not. So it will comes under the classification. Okay. For example, if you want to find the height of a person, it comes under the output is a continuous. It comes under the regression. Okay. So most of the most of the machine learning algorithms falls into the this classification. Okay, will falls into the classification. Okay. The other one is unsupervised learning. So in unsupervised learning, we have a lot of unlabeled data. So using unsupervised algorithms, we can group the data. So once we group the data, what will happen is that all the data that is having a similar characteristic will be grouped into one cluster. Okay, so generally we use unsupervised learning in cybersecurity for finding the anomalies in the system. Okay, semi-supervised learning is combination of supervised and unsupervised learning, and we also have other is reinforcement learning. Okay, so in the reinforcement learning, we will be having an agent which will operate on the environment. So this environment has a state. This environment have a state. The agent operate on the environment. So whenever it operates on an environment, okay, the state of the environment gets changed. The state of the environment gets changed. So based on the state of the environment change, the agent will be rewarded. Positive rewards or negative rewards will be given. So based on that, it is going to learn. Okay, so generally we use reinforcement learning for autonomous systems. Okay, so these are the different use cases of machine learning in cybersecurity. So as I told you earlier that we can identify the known malware using the signature based detection, but whenever a new malware comes, it's difficult to detect using the signature based detection or heuristic or using the behavior analysis. So most of the antivirus are using the machine learning or AI to identify the given exe is a malicious or not. So here, whenever I'm talking about a malware detection, there are two approaches are there. One is a static detection, the other one is a dynamic detection. When I talk about a static detection, you are not executing the malware. What you are trying to do is you are extracting the various parameters from the exe. Like for example, whenever you talk about a Windows exe, the Windows exe is in PE format, portable executable format, whereas the exe in Linux is ELF format, executable and linkable format. So what we do is in static detection, the in static static this PE or ELF format contains a lot of information. Okay, it contains information of data section, code section. Okay, and also it contains a lot of information of what are the APIs being called, what libraries are being called. So using this information, okay, using this information, you can also tell whether the malware is malicious or not. If you see research papers, a lot of papers have focused on the static detection. That means that you're not going to execute the malware sample. You take the raw binary, you extract the features from the raw binary, and you are going to, these raw features will be given to the machine learning model, and machine learning model is going to predict whether it is malicious or not. In the dynamic detection, the focus is more on the what files are being accessed, what registries have been modified, what network operation has been done. Based on these three parameters, the model is going to tell you whether it is malicious or not. Okay, the second one is malware classification. As I told you that there are different types of malware. So most of the time we want to understand in which category this malware falls, whether it is a ransomware, whether it is a trojan, whether it is a botnet. Okay, so for classifying the malware also a lot of machine learning being used. Okay, the third one is network attacks. So a lot of attacks happen like DDoS attack. Okay, identifying the botnet in the network. Okay, so all these kind of network attacks also we use machine learning. Okay, and fourth, I have also like for identifying the malicious files. I have told you like in the phishing email, a lot of mm, a lot of malicious files are being attached and sent over an email. Okay, so a lot of a lot of machine learning is applied to identify whether the given PDF is malicious, given PPT is malicious, given JavaScript is malicious or not. Okay, so a lot of machine learning models have been also been developed and deployed in a real world. Okay, the fifth one is anomalies in the system. Like what happens is that sometimes what will happen is that if the attack is sophisticated attack, it will bypass the existing security. Okay, so to detect this sophisticated attack, we should start identifying the anomalies in the system. So once we start identifying the anomalies in the system, this will give the way to identifying the sophisticated attacks in the organization. Okay, so there also we use machine learning to identify the anomalies in the system. Okay, The next one is security analysis augmentation. You all know that cybersecurity is a very vast area. So a single person may not contains all the knowledge, all the knowledge that are required to carry out the security analysis. So the AML are also being used to augment the knowledge of the security analysis person. Okay. The other one is intrusion detections. So machine learning is also being used to identify the intrusions in the network. Okay. The last one is SIM and SOAR. SIM and SOAR. When I talk about a SIM, when you talk about a SIM, like every organization have a SIM installed, SIM installed. Like your agent will be there on the end system. What does this SIM agent will do is SIM agent will collect the events from the your end system, most important events from the end system, and this will be filtered and forwarded to the centralized server. Okay, so on the centralized server we have a lot of information of the end systems, of end system logs. So on these logs, okay, generally people apply machine learning algorithms to identify whether something is compromised or not, and also to correlate across the systems. Okay, we use machine learning. So these are the general use cases of machine learning in cybersecurity. Okay. Okay, so if you want to categorize according to the algorithm, okay, so we under supervised learning we will do malware classification, malware detection, network attack detection. For unsupervised learning we use anomaly detection. For reinforcement learning we use for adversarial malware generation on autonomous cyber systems. Okay, so these are the challenges that you face. uh, these are challenges that you face whenever you want to use ML in the cybersecurity. The first foremost is that for doing the malware analysis, you required a separate infrastructure, because whenever you execute the malware, it infects the base PC. So once it is infected, you can't use your the PC for the general purpose. So you should have a separate infrastructure, and also this infrastructure should be isolated from the normal network. Apart from this, you also require a lot of open source and commercial tools uh, to carry out the research. Okay, so the other major problem is that lack of label data. So when you come to the cybersecurity, you find you may find the label data, but it is not updated quite frequently. So there are a lot of malware data sets available, like Ember data set are there, Microsoft data set are there, but the problem with these data sets is that they are not quite frequently updated. So if you see the Microsoft data set, they have released around in 2015. They gave updates in 2016 and 2017. So now it is 2024. So even in Ember data set we have like these we have a lot of data set, but these are not quite frequently updated. Okay, and the one more is that lack of authenticity of this data set. So some data set, no, you may find in GitHub, but authenticity and integrity of these data sets, we can't prove it actually. Okay, so these are some of the challenges of machine learning for cybersecurity. So one more point I forgot is that so most of the organizations will not share the security breach. So once they don't share the security breach, we don't have the attack data. So this so the algorithm, see, machine learning algorithm is you get a good machine learning algorithm only when you have a good training data. Okay, if you don't have the good training data, you can't get a good model actually. Okay, so if the organizations are not willing to share the data, you can't build any good model actually. Okay. Okay. So these are some of the futuristic AML cybersecurity solutions. So as I told that earlier that antivirus started using the AML for detection, but only as a complementary feature. Okay. As of now, we don't have purely AI-based security solutions. As the AI evolves more mature, okay, so we can find purely AI-based security solutions as well. And second is that autonomous AI-based security solutions. So under autonomous in the sense that so whenever attack happens, we have to respond and remediate. This should be done automatically. So though some degree of autonomous is already in place, the completely 100% autonomous is not being achieved as of now. Okay. The other solution futuristic AML solution is like AI-based vulnerability assessment and management. Right now, a lot of manual effort is involved for carrying out the vulnerability assessment and management. Okay, so in future you may expect like AI-based vulnerability assessment and management solution to carry out the task. So even in digital forensics, their solutions are coming up that will help us to trace the malware that their solutions that are coming up that will trace the malware evidences within the hard disk as well. Okay, so the one last slide that I would like to end is that ARML is not a foolproof. Okay, there are a lot of attacks happening on ML as well. Okay, so these are some of the attacks that are happening on machine learning models. One is a poisoning attack, the other one is adversarial input, the other one is model stealing. So when you talk about uh, these poisoning attacks generally happen in the training phase. The attacker has access to the data set. So what does the attacker will do is the attacker is going to modify the data set. Okay, modify the data set so that the model that you are going to build give you the incorrect classification. Okay, and the second one is adversarial input and model stealing. These generally happen during the testing phase, in the deployment phase or testing phase. So in the when you talk about adversarial input, the adversary is trying to find an adversary input that will fool the model actually, that will fool the model. So when you talk about the model stealing or model extraction, so in this what we assume is that the attacker has an access to the model. That means that given an input, the model will give you the output. What does the attacker will do is the attacker is going to send a lot of input to the model and he'll get correspondingly retrieve the corresponding output. Why? So based on this input and output, he tries to create a replica model of the original model. Okay, in this way he tries to steal the model. Okay, so these are the some of the attacks that are possible on the machine learning models. Okay, so that's all from my side. Any
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your wonderful and enlightening session. I think it was a very informative session. All right, sir. I think there are some questions. Let me see this for you. Can we get the recording PPT after this session? Yes, sir. It is there in our YouTube channel. You can just check it. I will share you the link. Can we get recording? Yes, is there. Sir, student who start the path of digital forensics. Yeah, you can just see the progress, sir. Like now, this is not the platform to discuss such kind of things. What is the recommended certification for information security, networks for security for government information technology department who wants to shift from one PSU to other PSU? Sir, like whenever the advertisement comes, it is a clear instructions were given. Please check it. I think like if someone is looking for, I think recently today only I see one post, SBI posted, you just check it. Also guide CEH certification. Can you please explain how AI and ML helps in digital forensics?
see when you talk about digital forensics, no, a lot of manual effort is there. So whenever you want to do a digital forensics, first thing what you have to do is you have to extract the hard disk image. Okay, then you have to carry out a lot of analysis to identify what files are being modified, what are the temporary files. Okay, what are the images that are being linked, and most of the time what happens is that a lot of links are also being there. Okay, so you need to identify, so you have a lot of history in the hard disk actually. Okay, so you need to try to correlate among the like what actually happened. Okay, you have to correlate among the existing files, deleted files, and you have a lot of links that are being accessed. So we need to find the correlation. Okay, how what things happen, and we need to provide the evidences. Okay, now it all depends upon the knowledge of the person who is actually doing the digital forensics. Okay, so by using AML, the what advantage that you get is that automation, one thing is that automation can help, and also this augment the security analysis knowledge. Okay.
Yeah, the next question is, sir, now machine learning project implemented to cyber security, any project like there, I mean to, my understanding is anywhere this AML is implemented in cybersecurity.
Yes, yes, and almost every antivirus has AML as a part of the part actually. What I mean is that right now AML is a complementary feature in most of the antivirus.
Okay, fine. Alex, thank you so much for your enlightening session. I think the session was helpful to all of us for understanding like what is the AML in cybersecurity. Thank you so much for your session. So we will move on to the next session. One more interesting session which we are going to have now. So the session is IoT security. I think most of the people are dealt with IoT in and out. Like we always use that IoT for various purposes. So we are going to like learn about like what is Internet of Things in and out of the box. So to deal with this session, like we have Dr. S. Venkata Srikanth sir, and who is also scientist here at CDEC Hyderabad. And let me give a brief introduction about sir. So he is associated with CDEC Hyderabad for the last 20 plus years in the field of IoT and embedded system design. Currently, he is designated as a scientist E, and he obtained his master's in networking and telecom systems from UK and PhD in the area of wireless heterogeneous networks from the JNT University, Hyderabad, India. And his areas of interest include the Internet of Things, ubiquitous computing, V2X, wireless technologies, embedded system design, and mobile communications. And he is a member of CSI SIZ for IoT, and he has executed around 15 plus projects, and he's published around 21 plus papers in the various journals and conferences. He has also delivered talks in number of international workshops and conferences. So with this brief introduction, we welcome Dr. S. Venkata Srikanth sir to deliver on this session. Thank you very much, sir, for joining with us.
Yeah, I think my voice is audible, no, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is audible, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks. I'll just share my presentation so that we can start off the.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Hope it's visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I think I'm Dr. Srikanth. I thank Jagdish sir for the nice introduction he has given about me. Okay, I think let me start off this topic, keeping time in mind. I think if you look at IoT as a whole, I think we all know that it is Internet of Things, am I right? So a lot of Internet of Things are there. A lot of things are getting connected over Internet. I think because they're getting connected over Internet, I think there are a lot of risks. We all know that. So today I was thinking that let me focus on something called, let me call IoT as something called in and out of things, because everything has something inside, everything has something outside. So a hacker, ethical hacker, anyone who want to find out vulnerabilities, how do he do? Whether he has to go inside the box or outside the box, where do he has to check, what he has to do, and all these things I wanted to tell you today so that you get an awareness of what exactly is IoT today. So let me start this topic, which is called as in and out of things. For that, one thing what I'll do is I'll start off a brief introduction on IoT, because I think I don't know the audience who are, people may be knowing about IoT, people may not be knowing about IoT. So let me give a brief about IoT. Let me give up some applications, then get into the topic where security is very much important for this component, which is called as in and out of things. So let me start off with a statement like a lot of things you want to do as a part of daily life can be done over internet. I think we all accept that, am I right? Today, everything is done over internet. Most of the things are done over internet. The way we communicate, the way we work together has completely changed because of internet. But what do they say is, what is the next wave of internet which is going to happen is, the thing is, they say that it is going to be about things. So what are these things and all we are going to discuss today basically. So things, they generally say that they can be smart, they can be connected. A lot of words people are using basically, but what exactly is that? And how is that security coming into picture here? So for that, let's start off with some motivation. Sorry. Yeah. So something like this, which happens, you have a weighing machine which is connected over network, and something when you stand on that, it is showing that you pay me this much or not, I'll feed this your weight out. So this is a bit a component, a part of what you call embarrassing for us, right? So we feel that this sort of information shouldn't go out. But you are saying that I want IoT at my home, I want to connect all these devices to internet. So this is what which is going to happen. So this is my first motivation why I'm coming and taking this session for you guys. The second motivation I look at is the biggest component. If you look at this cartoon, is a lot of people when we say that, do you know that S in IoT is for security? But a lot of people say that IoT is IONT. Where is S in that? So that is the point what we need to discuss today, that S is very much important for what we call as IoT today. So the third motivation I have is, this is the point which where lot of things have changed, because for IoT is, till 2016 lot of hacks were happening on IoT, but no one was worried about these things. But after the attack which is called Mirai, which has happened in 2016, a lot of people started thinking about IoT. I think we all know that what is a Mirai attack. It was a bot malware which was put up in a lot of systems, and it was floated to a lot of IP cameras. Can you imagine that around 1.4 million cameras were attacked because of this Mirai? So Mirai didn't stop there. Mirai started attacking after that. They got into all the networks because of this botnet malware which was there. And can you imagine that the biggest OTT platform, something like Netflix, Twitter, Reddit, and all got hacked because of this. So they had to shut down their servers for 2 days because of Mirai. So this has created a new area for IoT, which is called security today. Okay. The next component which has motivated us is something like, if you look at why we need to talk about IoT today, why we need to talk about IoT is, if you look at by 2024, they are expecting around how many devices? Around 18.8 billion devices. 18.8 billion devices are too much for us basically. That means almost it is more than the number of people getting connected. All right. We are around 5 to 6 billion or 6 to 7 billion today, but the number of devices getting connected are around 18.8 billion. By 2025, it is around 21.5. By 2030, there is around 41.1 billion. They're saying that around 50 billion devices are going to get connected. So keeping all this in mind, where are we today? Right. So that is what we need to look at, that what is the seriousness about security today. So, and one more biggest motivation for us to be here today is, today they say that an average, I think I'm talking about developed nations. So India is slowly getting into that. If you look at in the developed nations, around 8 devices are there per person. That means in his home, there are around 8 devices. It can be smart TV, it can be smart watch, it can be a smart thermostat, am I right? It can be smart voice assistant, something like your Alexa, smart lights, basically all are getting connected to your router basically. So keeping all these in mind, let us start this session, which is called in and out of IoT basically. So for that, let me start off something with, let me start off why we are going to discuss today. What is that we are going to discuss? Who are the end beneficiaries, and how is that we are going to tackle all these problems? So there are 4 components which I'm going to discuss as part of my session. So let me start with this. Let me start with why. So the thing is, so let me talk about from the internet to the Internet of Things. When I want to talk about from the internet to the Internet of Things, I'll just first talk about the computing basically. Today everything is computing, right? Everything is a computing device for us. It can be an IoT device, it can be a computer, laptop, mobile, and all. So the thing is, what I'm going to talk about is the computing paradigm. Where is IoT into this basically? Where is IoT falling into this computing paradigm? When I talk about this computing paradigm, I would say that there are three waves of computing basically. First wave we all know, it was called IBM mainframes, where there used to be a big server, a lot of people used to get connected to that and do a lot of experimentation. Then came the second wave, where that they have become very small systems, which is called PC today. And I'm right, it is called personal computing. When one-to-one we are sitting before the system and talking to each other and doing a lot of jobs basically. But a third wave of computing which is there, it's completely different. People say that it is called as many to one, because it is nothing but many devices are controlling us. We are not controlling the device. Devices are controlling us. We are changing our complete pattern because of these devices, right? So this is where we call it as a ubiquitous computing. Ubiquitous is nothing but anytime, anywhere, any place computing. So that is where IoT is one part of this ubiquitous computing. Okay. So this is where we are in at this point of time. I don't know what the future is going to be. Future is a lot of changes will happen. So at this in IoT era, what we are doing at this point of time. So when I look at, then comes the internet evolution. When we talk about the internet evolution, the thing is, today we are saying that everything over internet. But when did internet start? Internet started with something called as Internet of Boffins. I think if you look at, I think you might have heard about TCP/IP protocols, which are generally used in internet as a standard transport layer protocols. In that, if you look at, they started somewhere on 6970. I think we all know that there was a project called ARPANET, where they wanted to start communicating between their systems inside the office. They started with something called intranet. Slowly, they wanted to communicate within remote offices. So it became internet basically. That is how it started. Initially, it was called as Internet of Dolphins because only scientists were using that. But later on, it became something called as Internet of Geeks, where a lot of gadget lovers started using that till 2000. After that, it was open to civilians. It was open to, I think in India also, we have seen it's called as Internet of Masses. We used to go to cafes, different cafes, and started using internet till 2010. Then slowly it became mobile internet because mobile has become very prominent and they're all connected over internet. I think you might be, I don't know, I think a few people may be listening my session over mobile also today. So that was till 2020 basically. But 2020 and beyond, we call the era of Internet of Things, where most of the things are getting connected over internet. Okay, most of the things are getting connected over internet. The thing is, the vision here is everything on this planet should get connected over internet. So are we able to achieve that? But whatever the security in that? So that is what we need to discuss today. Okay. So I think keeping this in mind, I think let me start off with exactly what exactly is IoT, how it started IoT. The thing is, I think you might have, this is a fancy word which says Internet of Things basically. So this was coined by Mr. Kevin Ashton in 1999. I think the thing is Kevin Ashton, I will let me introduce him. He was head of Auto ID Labs in University of Massachusetts. So the thing is, you know that necessity is the mother of invention, right? I think he also got some necessity. What was the necessity is he was given a problem statement by Procter and Gamble, that is P&G. I think we use their products, right? So they had a problem. They went to him. They said, "Sir, we have a big warehouses, but we are not able to track those products. So how do we track them? So how many are going out? How many are in the shelf? How many are within the warehouse? So many things they wanted to track." At that point of time, what he did is he said that why don't you connect a small RFID tag? RFID, I think you all know. I think we all generally use because whenever we are going by a tool booth, I think that is the RFID, which is nothing but the fast tag. So that uses RFID technology. So in 1999 itself, he said, why don't you use RFID? So when he said that these RFID tags can be connected to all your products, so whenever they are passing on, the data will go to the server. How does the data go to the server? Is with the help of something called internet basically. Then later on he realized that these are the products. These are nothing but things. They are connected over internet. They are sending the data over the internet. Why don't I call it as Internet of Things? So that is how the word IoT has come into picture, which has become trending and buzzing today. So that is what. And but what did he say is he said that it refers to uniquely identified objects and their virtual representations in an internet-like structure. So he says that. So looking at his definition itself, I think it's a bit too technical. So let me split it into two different parts. One is in Internet of Things. One is called as internet, and other is called as thing. Right. So what is internet? Internet, we all know, we have read in books. It says that it follows standard protocols. That is nothing but something like transmission control protocol, which is TCP, something like UDP, user datagram protocol, IP, and so on. But what are these things? Things are nothing but which had names previously. It can be a water bottle, it can be a pen, pencil. They never had, what do you call? They never had any IPs at that point. A unique IP basically. Unique address was not there. Now he says that all these things, if they get an IP and they connect over the internet, why can't I call it as an IoT basically? He says that World Wide Web of Things, which will have unique addresses and which will communicate over standard protocols such as TCP, UDP, and IP. So that is what we call it as IoT. So that is how the word IoT has come. So with that, now let's get into a bit technical because these are very important because I will talk about security. So generally, I think you guys may be into security. So you may be thinking that okay, these are the things, but where is that surface area? Where should I attack an IoT device? So that is the question you guys may be having. So keeping that in mind, I'm going a bit technical where I would say that any IoT device you talk about, it's not a single thing. It's a combination of things. Basically, what is that combination of things? Is an IoT system, IoT device, if you say, it will have sensors, it will have connectivity, it will have people in the process. So what are, and there is a fourth component which is hidden basically, that's an actuator that comes into picture when there is a need. Really, not many IoT systems may have actuators, but every system will have a sensor, every system will have connectivity, every system will have people in the process. So what are these sensors? So the sensors are nothing but it can be a temperature sensor. I want to understand, I'm sitting in a boardroom here. I want to understand the temperature of this room. I'll put up a temperature sensor. If I want to know the humidity, I'll be knowing the humidity sensor. For example, I'll put up in the junctions various pollution, air quality sensors, so to understand what is the pollution level basically. Like water leakage sensor, so many sensors. Like in agriculture, I can put a soil moisture sensor. Different areas. For example, if people want to understand what is happening in the city, they can put a camera, that is a sensor. So all these are the devices which are giving us the input. So that is not just the IoT. Okay, that is only the input device based. Now the data has to go to the server. How does the data go to the server? When I want to send the data over the server, you need some protocols, you need some communication. Today, how I'm able to connect to you guys is I'm connecting over internet basically. I'm connecting over Ethernet here because our office has Ethernet. I'm able to communicate so that I am getting internet so that I can talk to you guys. The medium here is Ethernet. So in IoT, generally we don't talk about wired protocol. Generally we talk about wireless protocol. Because IoT, we are saying that 40 billion device, 50 billion device getting connected, that can happen only wirelessly, not wired. Okay. So connectivity plays a very big role because connectivity can be 3G, 4G, 5G, whatever you call, any G you can call. And if you want Wi-Fi is there, LoRa is there, Bluetooth is there, so many things are there. Okay. So once the sensor data is corrected, that has to be sent to the server for later analysis. So connectivity is the one which will send the data to the server. Once the data is sent to the server, what will happen? There will be people, there will be process. What is the process? It will be analyzed and given to the people. Who are the people? The stakeholders. For example, a soil moisture sensor, why will I be bothered about? An agriculture scientist may be bothered about, a farmer may be bothered about. Right? For example, I put up, police has put up a cameras within the city. Police will be bothered about the data basically because they want to keep it safe city. So like that, various applications, various sensors will happen. But any IoT architecture you look at, there will be sensors, connectivity, people in the process. And some of the things may use something called actuators. So sensors are only the input devices, actuators are output devices basically, which will take action. So that is what. So this is a combination of an IoT. So why I'm stressing on this is where we'll come back to where the security component will come into picture. Okay. So when I talk about IoT, as I clearly told you, these are the sensors. Sensors are nothing but generally we call it as a digital nervous system, which gives us the inputs. Depending on the application, you put the respective sensor, right? Then comes the connectivity. So many communications have come. So many connectivities are there. It can be Wi-Fi, it can be Bluetooth. Bluetooth low energy is there. There is RFID is there. NFC is there. Satellite communication is there. 5G is there. LTE is there. LP WAN is there. Low power wide area networks is there. All these things are there basically. So that is where the connectivity comes into picture. Then we talk about the people in the process. The third component, where finally the data comes to the server, it will get analyzed and given to the stakeholders, depending on the applications basically. So keeping that in mind, now when you look at the complete IoT ecosystem, just have a look at this so that we'll understand where the security comes into picture. So the thing is, I think before jumping into the security, I just wanted to ask you a question that, for example, these are the IoT nodes because they'll be communicating to the cloud or the server basically. When they want to communicate with the cloud, there can be different intermediate device like a fog devices or edge device in the middle, something called as a gateways in the middle, which can send the data to the cloud. Because we can't expect all the sensor nodes to directly send the data to the cloud. So there'll be some gateways in the middle. There will be some communication protocols. There's a cloud protocols. All these things will be there. So you guys tell me, where do I attack IoT device? So some people say that I want to attack here, I want to attack here, I want to attack here. Right? But the thing is, if I want to claim that my IoT is secured, what do you claim? I can't say that my IoT node is secured, boss. That is enough. You can't say that. I can't say that my mobile application is secured. That is good enough. I can't say that my cloud is very strong. That is good enough, because hack can happen anywhere. The surface attack for IoT is too much. It's a multidisciplinary subject. So it's not like your web auditing and all, where there is a direct access, you do a VAPT and all. But in IoT, the VAPT is completely different because it's completely multidisciplinary. Because there is hardware in this, there is firmware in this, there are protocols in this. Am I right or wrong? There are gateways in this, there is cloud in this, there are mobile applications in this, web applications in this. All these things, if you look at, have to be secured. So that is where the complexity comes for IoT security. So you may be asking me a question, sir, what is the reason why things are not secured? Is one of the most the reason is these things basically, because so many things in IoT. So where do we secure IoT? And apart from that, these IoT devices are generally considered to be constrained devices basically. It's not like your mobile or a laptop or this thing. An IoT device, they generally say that they'll be having low power, low memory, and which are generally running on batteries based. So keeping a security component again on that is a performance issue for us. So a lot of developers are never interested to put up security on this. What will generally happen? I put this device in my home, they get hacked. They'll understand what is happening, what is the pattern in my home. So all these things are happening, not only in our country, so many countries, a lot of IoT device got hacked. We'll get into that. But this is just an ecosystem, just wanted to give you. And let me talk about a bit of, I think I'll talk about some couple of applications, just keeping in time in view. So I just want to understand that I think if you talk about IoT applications for your body, So what is that we are going to talk about? I think today we have what is that activity trackers, so many things are there. That means I want to understand what is the parameters on my body. What do? I put up sensors on my body basically, right? And it will be having a connectivity that will be sending the data to the cloud. So when I talk about that, the thing is, the first one device is famous device from long time. I'm showing this device because I felt one of the prominent devices. This is a small device. This is the IoT device, which talks to the mobile phone, and this talks to the cloud. So the thing is, the reason behind this is called as the device which can prevent SIDS. SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome basically. When you talk about sudden infant death syndrome, the problem is they say that infants in the age of 0 to 6 months are dying because of while sleeping they're dying basically. Even doctors are not aware what is the reason behind that. So after so many years of research and all, they felt that if we can understand the baby's breathing pattern, skin temperature, body position, activity level, all these things can be understood. We can control SIDS. It's not a medicine. We can control SIDS basically. So they developed this device which has all these sensors. So over the Bluetooth, it communicates with the mobile phone. On the mobile phone, it gets processed and the data is given to the mother. So that the mother will understand that the simple thing is whenever the baby wakes up, it will immediately trigger the mother, go and feed him. When the baby is having high temperature, it will trigger the mother telling that what is the problem? Low volume. Sure.
Sir, no problem. You can go ahead. Sir, Javed sir, I think I request you to please kindly check at your end, sir.
Yeah. Sorry then.
Okay, Javed sir, please check at your end on your system or your device. Please increase the volume. And if there is any control in less, then there will be an issue. Please check, sir. Right, sir. Please go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, sir. I think so. This is what if you look at here also, you have sensors, something like this. You have connectivity that is Bluetooth, and the mobile phone is doing the processing, and the mother is the stakeholder. So all these components make an IoT device, basically IoT ecosystem, I would say. So these are some of the devices which are very prominent. Why I'm talking about all these things is if these devices are not secured, these devices are not, what can be done basically? Something like generally we have something called as CIAM, right? Generally, when I talk about security, we talk about confidentiality, integrity, and availability or authenticity basically. Availability, if these devices are not functioning properly, what will happen? You will still continue with SIDS. You think that I put up a device, it is working, it is not working because it got hacked. So the thing is, availability plays a very big role in all these things basically. So that is the reason we need to look at something called security. I think I'll come back to that. Just giving an example. For example, I want to put up an IoT device for my home. So what may be the reason why I want to put up an IoT device for my home? I want to put up IoT device might be something like I want to remotely monitor. I want to manage my house. The thing is, today we know that we put up lights and we forget to switch it off. So if there are some device which takes control over that and reduce our monthly bills and resource usage, I think a lot of advantages are there not only for us, and even the carbon footprint is reduced basically because of all this. So that is what we are using these sort of devices for this thing. But they all come at their disclaimer that if they are secured, well and good. If they are not secured, we are in trouble. That is very clear. So we have to be. So this is a small device which is called as thermostat. Why I'm talking about this is this is taken over by Google in 2013, I feel. This is called as a smart thermostat which can be connected in your house, and various gadgets can be connected like your geysers, ACs, and all to this device. This controls all your house. It's a very good device, but one of the device which got hacked. The problem here is one of the device which got hacked. That's why I put up here. It was one of the first device which got hacked because there was some issue with this device where whenever the device reboots, or whenever the device is rebooting, you put a USB device to this. USB device is having a malware or something like that, or hacked firmware. It will play according to that basically. It will start working in that manner. So it is giving that option. So whenever the booting up is happening, the USB expecting some device basically, like a USB or something. So you can insert the device and do that. So later they have rectified that. That is not an issue basically. And apart from that, the booting, you are able to restart the device. You are able to shut down the device and restart. Some hacker gets access and he was able to. So it is taking some 90 seconds to 2 minutes to reboot this device basically. So within that 2 months, even burglars used to enter the house and see a lot of things basically. The thing is, this is one of the big device. If you look at, not only controls your house, apart from that, it is having your geofencing of your house, and it is triggered with your mobile phone. It's connected with your mobile phone. So whenever you are going out of the house, it will immediately say, "Sir, you are going out of the house. You have caused the geotagging. So shall I switch on the switch on the cameras?" Yes, you do that. Some lights are on. Shall I switch on? Switch off. Please do that. And apart from that, when you're reaching back home, it will immediately say that, sir, shall I switch on the lights? You're back to home and do that. So a lot of things are happening basically. So people started understanding the patterns of the people because initially it was not much secure, but now it is very much secure after Google has taken over. So that is what. So these are some of the devices which are there which can be put up in your. And I think we know about Amazon Echo. I think one of the famous voice user assistant, I would say. So IoT, the flavor of IoT has changed because a lot of people started using mobile applications, web applications, and all. But now they say that you don't use anything, boss. You just tell it will do it for you. Book a cab, it will book a cab. Do this and all these things. But only thing is, voice patterns are very much important. We should be careful there. But I think now the latest devices which have come are very much good devices which are more secure. It's not easy to hack them. So that is what because they recognize your voice and do a lot of things basically. Because a lot of issues were what you can say, you can look at a lot of CV database and a lot of issues were there initially, but now a lot of things got solved because of security putting up into this basically. So these are some of the applications. I don't want to get into these applications, keeping in time. I think I'll just skip the applications. Let's and one more prominent I would say is I think future this is going to come up. So I would say that this is very good if you look at the safety point of view. But at the point of time when you look at the security, I think it should be very secured because this is something called V2X, which is called vehicles will be communicating with each other. Vehicles will be communicating with the infrastructure. Vehicles will be communicating with what you call network. Vehicles will be communicating with the pedestrian also. If these sort of devices, there will be some IoT device put up in the cars. There will be IoT device put up at the junctions. There will be IoT device with the pedestrians. They all will be connected together, which is called as V2X basically, vehicle to everything. So the general thing is a simple example I'll give you that suddenly a car is going at a very high speed and he suddenly stops. Sometimes we may be able to understand that he's braking. Sometimes we may not be able to. We go and hit him. So these sort of a device will help you in that. So well in advance, they'll tell you that once this fellow has braked, you also brake. Then immediately you'll break it. So that the accidents are mitigated with the help of these sort of a device. But if these sort of a device are hacked, what will happen? Because generally what we say that here a packet missed is a life missed basically. So we generally look at all this latency and all. But when it comes to security and all, even the security is hacked. These sort of a devices not function exactly what they're meant to be. A lot of accidents will happen basically, even though we have the technology. So that is what where we are leading because technology is leading us today. So, but the problem is whatever the security when we talk about. So there are a lot of devices. I don't want to get into these. I think even cricket they started putting up IoT devices. And one more thing is, if you can understand that IoT data, the data what you're generating from your IoT, they're using even in courts basically for some of the cases. A woman's murder was dealt with using IoT device that is a Fitbit activity tracker. The data of Fitbit activity tracker used in the courtroom of US basically. Can you imagine where is IoT today? Can you imagine whatever the security of IoT today? So these are the things which are hitting us. It is making us a compulsive thing, telling that we have to go with security. It's not that by hook or crook there should be some sort of a security, minimal security, which can protect our device and protect our database. So that is where we are leading to. And IoT proliferation, I don't want to tell. I think it's everywhere today. Knowingly or unknowingly, we are using IoT devices basically, either in our office, either at home, everywhere we are using IoT devices. Yeah. Now let me get to the security component. So security component, why I'm talking about security component is, say I told you the clear motivation why I had to look into IoT security. So when I talk about IoT security, a lot of people say that what is there? My computer antivirus is there, this is there, that is there. We are able to manage access control is there, this is there. But do you think the same thing can be put in an IoT device? So that's not easy, sir, because as I clearly told you that whenever I talk about an IoT device, most of the devices are running on batteries because they are put up in external environments and they're having very low memory and they're having low power also. Power consumption is a big hit for IoT device because they are generally called as they come in the category of constrained, not resource rich. So, but all our protocols, all our things which are made today, look at all are made for resource rich devices like your laptop, mobiles, and all this. So, what do we do for it? The thing is, a lot of people, as I said, it is just another computer, right? So, what is the problem? Why you are talking so much about this? The problem is the same things, whatever are there, can't really be acceptable in an IoT device. Basically, it makes the performance of an IoT device very less. Basically, the performance impact will be there if I put up all these things into that, and all these components are not made for IoT device. And one more problem with IoT is any compromised device in a foothold on a network base. In a foothold base, yes, I'm right. Any small device is hacked in your network. Whole network is at stake. So that is the biggest issue with an IoT. The second thing is IoT security. When I talk about, as I clearly do from starting, I'm telling you that IoT security is multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary. It's not like as I clearly told you that it's not like a web or anything that you put something, you do a VAPT, straightforward. The straightforward tools are there. Use it, generate a report, tell the developer to put it back, patch it back. You'll be able to do. But IoT is not like that, because if you want to patch up, you have to patch even the hardware, you have to software, and even the online elements also. And one more problem with IoT today is, the biggest problem is any business model. It's time to market today. If I delay the product for at least 1 month, better products are coming up before we think of. The thing is, the problem today is security implementation. No developer is looking at basically. That is because the users are not requiring. So they also don't want to build up security. They want to be first in the market. So adding up security will delay their time. So that is the thought process. And as I clearly told you that there is no security culture or training among most IoT vendors. So now slowly we are waking up and thinking of IoT security trainings and IoT security awareness. Previously there was no security culture. That is why today, if you look at, we are all happy with Chinese watches. Why don't we buy Apple watches today, even though it's more secure? Because Apple watches, because of the security, it is coming at 30 or 40,000. The Chinese watch is coming for 500 or 1,000. The biggest element which is missing is the security. Apple is not easily hackable. Your watch, the Chinese watch which is there, that is easily hackable. And one more thing with IoT is, generally any hack happens on any tool or anything, generally immediately the company releases the security updates. But for IoT thing and all, IoT device and all, there were never security updates basically. Because IoT security updates means, because all these are wireless communications, you have to go with something called FOTA. For example, your mobile needs an update. Today you are able to get the updates, right? Apple immediately sends updates basically. You will get update intimation, you will immediately update it. It will say security vulnerability updates and all. Right? The same way for IoT, it is not available, because IoT, the problem is FOTA, firmware over the air we have to send. When I want to say firmware over the air, so a lot of wireless communication is happening. Whether your IoT device is capable of receiving those updates, because memory is very less. What do you do with the old image? You have to replace that image with a new image. So all these things, availability of the memory, all these concerns are there with IoT. So no one is thinking about security in IoT today. So that has hit us badly, and that we are going to face. So because of that, some things went wrong. What are the things which went wrong is, let me give out one example. The first example I would talk about is, criminals hacked a fish tank to steal data from a casino. Can you imagine what happened here? So the thing is, I think casino, we all know. I think a lot of North America, there was one big casino. I think name was not revealed. But the thing is, what happened is, they put up in their lobby, they put up a fish tank. That is nothing but an aquarium, what we call. Very big aquarium. So what did they do is, they put up a temperature sensor, the temperature IoT module, which monitors the temperature of the water where the fish is having that environment basically. So they wanted to control that remotely, so that when the fish should be fed, when what is the temperature, so that the fishes can easily grow in that. So keeping that in that, they put up a small IoT node. I think they were saying that it was a $10 IoT node, $10 temperature sensor. So with that, the temperature sensor was connected to the router, to the main router of the casino. The thing is, hackers got into that because that was completely vulnerable, because it was a $10 temperature sensor. It was completely vulnerable, and they got into the main router of the network. From there, they got into that database of the casino. Once they got into the database of the casino, they started playing the casino things. Basically, they started playing with the dice and all. So they were putting up their numbers. They lost around $1 billion. And the second component is, okay, this is also still okay. That is a company which is at loss. But if you look at, there is something called pacemakers. Pacemakers, generally, if you look at the pacemakers, are generally the communication there is a wireless communication, because there will be a transmitter which will be configuring the things on your pacemaker. Pacemaker is generally to sync with your heart, the heartbeats and all, to sync with that. Am I right? So if you are able to control that wireless communication, and if you change the values, what is happening? That is why all these devices, I think it happens with the St. Jude devices, a pacemaker was hacked and they were able to control the things. It led to the death of a person basically. From that time, they started putting up some security. And apart from that, there is one more component. I think we all know, I think this is one of the famous hack, which is called as a Jeep hack. Basically. The Jeep car is there. Jeep car, they have an infotainment system, which is called as Uconnect, that was having 4G communication. So any update was happening over the air. So hackers were able to hack the firmware. They changed the firmware and put their own firmware. What happened because of that? And that device was controlling even the CAN. So what happened is a driver was going right, the car was going left. Driver was putting a brake, it was accelerating. All these things happened. Jeep had to call back around 1 million cars back. Can you imagine, because of a small bug in the update? Because that was not much secured basically. So these are the things which has made us think today that IoT security is very much important. If you look at as a developer or as an ethical hacker, this is very much important. I think every company should look into all this basically. Okay. The thing is, I think there are a lot of breaches, something like that, which has happened. I think I'll not get into all this. I think these are all repeating basically. So, and one more thing is, if you look at the first thing is, if I want to get into IoT security, I think a lot of students may be there who want to look at how do I get into IoT security. The thing is, first thing is, look at what are the previous IoT security issues. What happened to these devices? Why were they hacked? What is the thing which is there? So the thing is, generally, when I want to look at IoT, let us think I want to take up this device. What do I do? Because if you look at this device is having a hardware, this device is having a firmware, and if you look at this device is having even communication protocol. So anything can open us the data basically. So the thing is, if you want to become an IoT security hacker, or I'm talking about ethical hacking only, it's not intentional hacking, get into only ethical things to support some companies, because a lot of companies are looking for ethical hackers who can show vulnerabilities before they release the products into the market. Because these all products were once in the market, then they realized that there is some issue. But the thing is, now a lot of companies are investing on that where is the thing you get into. So a lot of people like us at CDAC, what we do is, we take up these devices, we open up the boxes, we see any ports are opened or not. Like, I think if you're an electronics engineer, you know, there is something called I2C, there is something called SPI, there is something called UART, which can throw the data. Are they enabled or disabled? Because generally they say that in a development environment, all will be enabled. But in a deployment environment, in a standalone environment, in a production environment, you should disable all these things basically. All these things we check up, anything is there, what is there, any data is flowing. Then apart from that, we even extract the firmware. If we are able to extract the firmware, we will be starting looking at where are the bugs, where are the things, where are the passwords and all. And apart from that, communication. If you are using unencrypted communication, like if you're not using, if you want to send the data to the cloud, you still use HTTP, you don't use HTTPS, which has SSL and TLS and all these things, security protocols, you're at stake, because the data will be going in plain text. We can easily understand what is the data which is going. So I can do a lot of attacks, something like a man in the middle. I can do a lot of some attacks like the replay attacks and many more ways. So all these things are hitting us. So if you look at in IoT, the importance if you look at is a lot of hacks are happening in medical imaging systems, because they know that money is there in medical imaging systems. A lot of money is there medical, because generally any hacker will look at what is my motivation behind that. What is the motivation behind hacking? Either it should either it should be about money or something else basically. Am I right or wrong? So the thing is, if you look at all these things, and the second component which was hacked is security cameras. As I told you that Mirai targeted security cameras, but they started with security cameras, that has led to something else. They got into even Netflix, they got into even Reddit, they got into even Twitter also. So that is how the intention will be one thing, but it will lead to a lot of avenues basically for the hackers. So the thing is, you should be very careful with all these things. Okay. So a lot of things, and if you look at the different types of hacking which happen, different type of, mainly most of the targets were exploits only. Like either I do something, some issue. What I do is, it's most about the developers only, because the developers itself will give us some avenue for putting up some security issues basically, some vulnerabilities. So it can be a network scan. That means that so many ports are open. Remote code execution. I was able to execute some code. Command injection, buffer overflow. I think we all know buffer overflow. And there's so many SQL injections, so many things are there basically. And that constitutes around 41% of the exploits. 33% is the malwares. I think due to a lot of social engineering and all, they send the malwares into your networks, and they were able to get into the office networks. And apart from that, something like passwords around 14%, phishing around 8%, cryptojacking is one component, where they start using your systems for minting money. I think that is what, because for minting money, today you want to mint all like Bitcoin and all, you need resources. How do you get resources? They'll be using your system. You'll never know that they are using your system. So that is what is the cryptojacking basically. So you see that your system has become slow. Your system is because a lot of resources are being used by all these people on the name of something called cryptojacking basically. So these are the top IoT security threats today. If you look at as reported today, the reasons for IoT security
Sorry to
vulnerabilities.
disturb you, sir, in the middle.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
how much more time will it take?
Hardly 2 minutes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
2 minutes. I'm done. Almost done. Okay. So the thing is the reasons for IoT security vulnerabilities today, if you look at, is I think lack of awareness among developers, lack of macro perspectives. Today they think about only think, let the device go into the market, then we'll see. They don't look at the overall perspective basically. And there are something called supply chain based also. The thing is when I talk about IoT is I said that IoT node is there, gateway is there, cloud is there. All are done by different vendors basically, and finally I integrate. But the problem is any one is hackable, the whole system is hackable today. So that is the problem. Is supply chain also plays a very big role in IoT. And apart from that, today we don't want to develop anything. We don't want to. We use that word called reinvent the wheel. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. So what do we do? Any third-party, open source, insecure frameworks also we use knowingly, unknowingly. So all these things are leading to IoT vulnerabilities today. So this is what. And if you look at OWASP IoT top 10, OWASP IoT top 10. So most of the things are mainly related to your firmware. The firmware is the one which is creating more opening. That is why we should start looking at something called secured by design. Security by design is the thing. While designing itself, we should keep security in mind. We avoid that and we think that later we'll append it. That is not going to happen. So that is what we need to keep in mind. And the one thing I should look at is, as I clearly told you in my starting. So where would you want to attack IoT? So if you want to attack IoT, the attack surface is very clear. The attack surface is hardware is there, firmware is there, network is there, communication, that is wireless communication is there, mobile and web applications are there, cloud are there. So many openings are there for you. Because if I want to say my IoT is secured, all these things should be secured. I can't say my hardware is secured. I can't say my firmware is secure. I should say my IoT ecosystem should be secure. That is where you are giving a clear indication to the hacker that it is very complex to hack my system. Okay. So one more thing is, if you look at when we did a survey on IoT things, so lot of devices, IoT devices today, the thing is the UART of IoT device is a big eye opener for a lot of hacks basically. And apart from that, your eMMC dump, where you flash your code, that is a firmware. There is one component which throws the data, and a lot of other things like JTAG and all are there. But these are the components which is UART is around 45%. So that is the reason generally people what they suggest is disable these things which you don't need in the production environment. Very clear. Okay. Yeah. And final, I think before finishing, I think the thing is lot of IoT devices are there at our home. When we say a lot of IoT devices are at our home, the thing is we should be very clear what we need to do. Whenever you are putting a router, what is the thing we have to do? Whenever you are putting your what you call your IoT device in your home, the first thing what we need to do is we need to change the complete default settings. And we should have multi-factor authentication. All these things, unless until we do, and we want to, even your routers and all, you should have separate networks, one for your office work, one for your personal work. Because even one gets hacked, other is protected basically. So something like that, you need to man your IoT device. And apart from that, because today we have smart speakers at home, something like Alexa and Bluetooth and all. So everything, you can't, while they are on, you can't share your passwords, very clear. Don't share your password when it's on, because we don't know where the data is going. And apart from that, and all should be very clear that only there should be has unmute. Please. Thank you. I think this is the way. Yeah. I think this is the way. I think one more thing is I want to, before closing my thing, I think at CDAC, I think under ICA program we are today. So the thing is we have a lot of labs where you can come explore IoT, IIoT, ICS environment and all these things. So we have a lot of people, we are training the people. So we are training a lot of CISOs and even we are training a lot of students also. So they can come. This is a complete IoT and ICS lab. We have created a smart city model for Hyderabad city. where we have kept a lot of factories, lot of ICS environments, lot of smart homes, smart cities, and all these things, where we create an environment where we ourselves put the vulnerabilities, we allow you to attack, and we show you how to protect, defend the systems, and all these things. So the thing is, we create the red team, blue team, and all the things we do. So I would always, if anyone are interested, please submit your requirement to ICR, and through them you can join these courses and do courses with us. Whatever I have explained to you guys, and more than that, you will be learning here, because there will be using a lot of tools and all. I didn't get into much of the tools today, so a lot of tools and all. So not only IoT, we get even into the ICS environment, that is the OT and IoT we look at. So all the environment completely we have developed as a smart city at CDAC Hyderabad. You can come visit us, be a student, learn, go and protect your company. So this is what I want to say. So finally, I would say that don't make your house or office something like that. That if you want to open a door, it is having a smart lock, it is hacked. Unless until you pay something like some money, it will not open. You have a fridge, you're very hungry, you're not able to open the door, it is hacked because it is connected to the network. Unless until you pay, it will not open. So be very careful. Use them, but be very careful with a security perspective in mind. So finally, I would say that if you think internet has changed your life, think again. The IoT is going to change it all over again, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful and enlightening session, sir. I think a lot of feedback started coming on your session.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And in the interest of the time, I just made it faster, and we are sorry for that inconvenience. Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. So any questions, we'll take it offline because time is there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
we will take it later.
Take this, we collect the questions, we'll respond to them. Yeah.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, in the interest of time, like we were not able to take some of the questions, we will just move on to the next session. As per your convenience, we'll move on to the next session. We thank Sir Srikanth sir for his wonderful and enlightening session. It was eye-opener session for many of us, because like we always in and out use IoT things, but we never knew like what was the advantages and disadvantages. Many of the times, most of the times, unless and until you are doing something in that area, right? So in that regard, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thank you all.
So much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your patience. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And we will move on to the next session, demystifying the software security terminologies. So, which is a recent attack which has happened, and sir is going to explain on those aspects. To deal with this session, we have with us Sri Sandeep Romana sir. He is a scientist here at CDAC Hyderabad, and he has 17 plus years of experience in the field of cybersecurity, and he has been involved in contributing to and executing projects for Government of India, and he is a certified information security professional and author of 10 plus research publications for his credit. So with this brief introduction, we welcome sir to take over the session. Thank you, sir, for joining with us, and hand it over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagdish. Am I audible?
You are audible. Please go ahead.
Okay, fine. So let me share my. So is my screen visible?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening to everyone. I am Sandeep, working at CDAC Hyderabad, and the objective of this session is to brief you people about the very basic cybersecurity terminology. This is going to be for the people who are very new to the domain of cybersecurity. They are interested into this cybersecurity, and they want to make their careers, but they don't know from where to start. So, without further ado, let's start. So, the first basic definition that we have in the cybersecurity is of a threat. So, what is a threat? Threat is a situation which has the potential of impacting the adversary negatively. Okay, so anything you have, suppose take an example of a malware infection. Okay, so the threat of malware infection always there. Threat of you catching some disease, that will always be there. Okay, so threat of your house being attacked by some bulgars, that will always be there. So this is what a threat is. But now, what is the probability of that threat being realized? That is what you need to calculate. So though threat is a passive concept and it is measured in terms of probability, depending upon how probable you are likely to be attacked, the cost and the what you can say, the remediation that you require to protect yourself from the threat, it increases. Okay, so the significance of risk depends upon what is the cost associated with that risk. Then the next term is a software bug. So this is from a software testing terminology. Software bug is a flaw or a defect in the software program that cause it to generate some unexpected results or behave in an unexpected way. So the example of software bug is in the space program. One very unexpected and famous incident that happened is European Space Agency's Ariane 5 rocket. After 1 minute of launch, it was completely destroyed, and it was due to a software bug. And the bug was an integer overflow leading to an unhandled exception. Because the system was not capable of handling the exception, it completely self-destroyed itself, and a lot of money was destroyed in that. Coming to the next term that we have in the cybersecurity field is a weakness. So weakness is a condition that contributes to the introduction of vulnerabilities under specific circumstances. So you have to understand the difference here. The bug is a defect. Okay, the bug is a defect, but the weakness is a condition actually. Okay, weakness is a condition, and it only causes a problem under certain specific circumstances only. Okay, and it can contribute to the introduction of vulnerabilities. We'll see what is the meaning of the term vulnerability in the coming slides. So now coming to the next term, what is a vulnerability? Vulnerability is a weakness that can be exploited by an attacker to gain unauthorized access. Okay, so now you have to identify the clear difference between the software bug as well as the vulnerability also. Bug is a broader term to refer to all kind of issues that we can have in the software, whereas vulnerability is a subset of bugs which can lead to some security. So the vulnerability, it can be use after free, it can be cross-site scripting vulnerability, it can be CSRF vulnerability, and so on. There are many different classes of vulnerabilities that we can have. Okay, but the point that you have to remember is vulnerability is not equivalent to a software bug. It is a subset of bugs, and those bugs that can lead to the security related issues. Okay. Now, coming to the subcategory of a vulnerability, which is known vulnerability. So what is a known vulnerability? Known vulnerability is a well-documented vulnerability, and the documentation and all the data related to the vulnerability is compiled by some reputable third parties, such as computer emergency response teams, software vendors such as Microsoft, Adobe, Google, and so on. So well-documented instance of a vulnerability is called as a known vulnerability. And the examples of known vulnerabilities are, we had a very famous Heartbleed bug that appeared in OpenSSL. It allowed stealing information from a protected SSL session. And another example of a known vulnerability that impacted Linux environments, causing it for unauthenticated remote code execution was regression. Okay, so iterating over the definition of unknown vulnerability once again. One vulnerability that is known is that vulnerability which is well documented by some reputed third parties. Coming to the next subcategory of a vulnerability, which is called as a unknown vulnerability. Now, what is this unknown vulnerability? It is undiscovered vulnerability for which there is no patch or defense because the software vendor does not know that it exists. See, for the vulnerability to be patched and to be remediated, the software vendor should know that okay, this vulnerability exists. Once he knows that this exists, then there is a process. They're depending upon the type of the vulnerability, their designers or developers, they will be taking specific actions to make sure that that system is protected from that vulnerability. Okay, and then whatever remediation they have found, they will release it to all the people who are using their software. So there is a process for taking care of a vulnerability. Okay, so now initially when the vulnerability is found, at that time it is not known to anyone. Okay, it is only known to either few people, those who found it, or probably a specific researcher who has found it. So during that time, this vulnerability, which is unknown, is called as a 0-day. It is called as a 0-day vulnerability. Why 0-day vulnerability? Because the software vendor has a 0 day to patch it. It does not have any time that it can patch it. Okay, so the example of a unknown vulnerability is log4 shell, which came back 2 years back, and it was causing a remote code execution in the Apache log4j module. Okay. Then coming to the next definition that we have in the cybersecurity is exploit. So exploit is basically a very, very basic term. Its dictionary meaning is to use something to take an unfair advantage for yourself. Okay. So same goes here in the field of cybersecurity. The only thing is it is mapped to this domain. So when mapped to cybersecurity, it is a piece of a code that can be used to take advantage of a software vulnerability. So it takes advantage of a software vulnerability to either initiate an attack or execute some malicious functionality. Okay, so it acts as a delivery mechanism, and delivery mechanism for what? It acts as a delivery mechanism for the payload. Okay, so we'll understand what is payload in the coming slides. The example of an exploit is a piece of a code which uses a say but buffer overflow vulnerability to take control of a program counter to execute some malicious code. Okay, so those who are aware of this buffer overflow and program counter, they will be able to understand this. But anyway, no worries. The point that you have to remember is that it is a piece of a code that takes advantage of any software vulnerability to initiate an attack. The next term that we have here is the payload. Now, the exploit delivers what? It executes a payload. Now, what this payload does, it is a piece of a code that is executed after the system gets compromised. Okay, and it helps the attacker to execute some code which executes the malicious functionality for him. Okay, and the example of payload can be any type of malicious functionality. Let us say encrypting the files on the file system, stealing some information from his system, maybe deleting some files, or maybe taking control of the system. Okay. The next term that we have is the attack. So attack in terms of cybersecurity. Okay. So this is also very generic term. Attack is a generic term. So now when mapped to cybersecurity, a malicious activity that exploits systems vulnerability or a number of vulnerabilities to cause harm to the target. So the attack may use a single vulnerability. It may use a combination of various vulnerabilities. It may use a combination of known and unknown vulnerabilities. And finally, the aim is to cause the harm to the target system. So examples of cybersecurity attacks are WannaCry ransomware attack that happened in 2017. So it caused so much damage of intellectual property as well as monetary damage. and it affected more than 2 lakh Windows computers in approximately 150 countries around the world. The next term that we have here is malware. So what is a malware? Malware is a piece of a software that has the capability to damage or modify computer system. Okay, and obviously this damage will be done without the permission from the owner of the computer system or the program, and the purpose of this malware will be to perform some illegal activity bypassing the system security policy. Okay, so each system that we define, each system that we use, digital system that we use, it comes with some kind of security policy. For example, you use your Android phones, and the very first policy that you have is maybe you log into the system using your thumbprint or some pin code or maybe your facial recognition. Okay, so if some piece of code executes by bypassing it, that will be categorized as a piece of malware. Okay, so it's a combination of two words, malicious and software. So mal is coming from malicious and ware is coming from the software. The various examples of malware are backdoors, ransomwares, viruses, trojans, spywares. There are various types of malwares. One thing I want to mention here is when we say that our system is not behaving properly, the very first thing we as a layman we say is that some virus is there in my PC and that's why it is not working. So technically, if a layman says that some virus has infected my system, it's fine. But a technical term which is correct for referring to this kind of scenario is that the malware has infected the system, and virus is one category of a malware. Okay, so coming to the next term that we have here is backdoor. So backdoor is a type of a malware. Okay, it is a type of a malware, and it's a program that allows to gain access to the system. Obviously, it will bypass the security control as the malware does. Okay, so how the backdoor is distinguished from the say virus or a ransomware. Okay, so now if you talk about ransomware, its purpose is to extort money. It will encrypt the files and it is going to ask you for a payment so that your files can be decrypted and you can get access to them. Okay, and if you talk about a virus, it has a property of replicating itself and using some medium such as your files and folders to create a copy of itself and then finally propagate. Now here in the backdoor, it simply provides the access. Okay, so you have a target system. The backdoor is going to provide you some kind of access. It is going to provide you some kind of entry point into that system. So the example of a backdoor is way back in 2014, one very famous incident happened where the plugins that were made for WordPress, this website holding platform, it got infected with the backdoor. Okay, so all these plugins were malicious. They were backdoored, and whosoever was installing these backdoors whosoever was installing these plugins, they were getting infected, and the backdoor had the functionality to create a hidden admin account, and it provided access to the attacker. And by using that access, the attacker can do any malicious functionality. The next important term that we have here is the Trojan. So Trojan is again a category of a malware. It's a piece of a software that seems to provide a valid functionality, but rather performs some malicious functionality. In other words, it pretends for the user to be giving some useful functionality. The example can be you are downloading some music player and thinking that you will be able to play your favorite music or something on your system. But behind the scenes, it plays music as you want it to do. But behind the scenes, it also does something malicious, and it is sending the data or providing the control of your system to the attacker. So one of the famous example is this Zeus banking Trojan. which spread via phishing links on the social media. So users thought that they are downloading some useful software, but behind the scenes, it was a Trojan bot, and it was used for the mass distributor denial of service attacks, as well as stealing financial information. The next important term that we have here is the post exploitation. So before that, we learned about exploitation. That is the exploit. Okay, so exploitation is the process of executing the exploit, and coming to the post exploitation, it is a set of tactics used for extending an attack after gaining initial access of the system. So once you have the initial access, then now the access that you have may not be sufficient. Suppose you got into the system, but you have a standard user access. Okay, your privileges are not enough that you can steal all the data or probably take full control of the system. Now, as an attacker, you always want either the root access or the admin access. Okay, so the post exploitation modules will help you to maybe steal that information and gain the administrative or the higher privileges than whatever you have on the target system or a network. It may also be, say, you attack some organization, the attacker is now into that organization, but he has access to only one system, but he wants to spread his footprint to the other systems, and he wants to take control of other systems also. So this post exploitation tactics will help him further spread his footprint and attack other systems to take their control. Okay. Now coming to the next term, which is a security patch. So in the software, you may be aware of the term patch. Patch is whenever there is a bug that gets into the system, and if that bug has to be fixed, a software company releases a patch for it, so that when you download the patch, the bug gets fixed. Now, if the bug is causing a security issue, then obviously it is going to be called as a vulnerability. And now, if a patch is released to fix a vulnerability, then it is going to be called as a security patch. Okay, so you can have number of different types of patches. A patch fixing a normal software bug, a patch fixing a vulnerability, which is a security patch, and maybe a different type of a patch which kind of enhances your software by adding some functionality to it. You nowadays are downloading, you get, let us say you have Apple or Android or Windows, you keep on downloading new piece of versions of these software whenever they are released. So they are just adding the functionality. But whenever some security vulnerabilities are patched, at that time they released out of band security patches. So the example here is the patch number, say KB401212, that was provided by Microsoft to patch the Eternal Blue vulnerability for the Microsoft Windows 7. Okay. The next term that we have here is privilege escalation. Privilege escalation is an attack that uses various tactics to increase the level of access. Okay, so I talked about about this in the post exploitation. Okay, so once you have some standard user access, you want to raise the level of access to some higher user access, then the attacker has to use some tactics to perform this privilege escalation. Coming to the next important term, it's MITRE, M-I-T-R-E. Okay, so MITRE is actually a non-profit based organization based in US, and it performs various R&D activities for advancing the technology and addressing critical issues, and it provides a number of critical things that we use in cybersecurity. That is why it is kept here. The very first thing it provides is the MITRE attack framework. So what is the MITRE attack framework? It is a globally recognized knowledge base of different types of tactics that are used by the attackers to gain access to the system. And these tactics are kind of very popular and scrutinized by a group of experts so that they can be categorized into various subcategories. so that people can understand them and then protect their systems against those attacks. So this MITRE ATT&CK framework is open and free of charge, available to any person or an organization to be used, and it is a very comprehensive framework. The next is the term CVE. So this is also given by MITRE CVE program. It refers to common vulnerabilities and exposures, which identifies, defines, and lists publicly disclosed vulnerabilities. So now whatever publicly disclosed vulnerabilities are there, that means the known vulnerabilities, okay? So this is a list of those vulnerabilities. This program tells how to create a list of those vulnerabilities. So each record in this list is a record of a specific vulnerability. We call it as a CVE record, and it is defined as a CVE hyphen year hyphen followed by the number in that year. So suppose we are in 2024. Okay, so the CVE, whatever will be assigned to, if we report some vulnerability, it is going to be CVE hyphen 2024, some number, whatever currently running, let us say 1000, 2000, 3000 or something like that. Okay, so coming to the next term that we have here is CWE. Again, this is given by the MITRE CWE program. Okay, so CWE refers to common weakness enumeration. It is a community developed list of software and hardware weaknesses. Okay, so now what are those weaknesses? These weaknesses are standardized, they are well known, and they are listed clearly to create a comprehensive centralized repository so that people can refer to this list. Whenever they find some vulnerability, they should be able to classify that this vulnerability is because of so and so weakness. Okay, so the numbers are given for each weakness. For example, CWE 787, it tells about the out of bound right. CWE 416, it tells about the use after free. Okay, and so on. So each CVE that is assigned by the CVE program, behind the scenes, it is caused due to certain weakness which appears in this CWE. Okay. Next is the CVSS score. So CVSS stands for Common Vulnerability Scoring System. Again, it's part of the MITRE CVE program. Okay. So it's a number representing the severity of a vulnerability. So there are 4 different levels: low, medium, high, and each of the vulnerability is given a specific score depending upon how much impact it is giving on the target system. So there are various versions of this CVSS. They keep on evolving over a period of time as the understanding increases and as the new threats they encounter in the wild. Okay. So though the current version that was released in 2013 is version 4.0, but the most popular version that is ongoing is CVSS version 3.1. Okay, so the example is say CVE 2014-50601, which had a score of 9.8. 9.8 means it falls in the critical vulnerability. Okay, and it affected Firefox version 131.0.2 and Thunderbird less than 131.0.1, and maybe some other versions of Firefox and Thunderbird. Okay. Coming to the next term that we have here is OWASP. OWASP is an non-profit organization, again US-based non-profit organization, which is dedicated to improving the cybersecurity. It stands for Open Web Application Security Project. Okay, and it's widely known for contributing to web security, though now they have expanded their footprint into other types of security also, but mostly it is known for their work that was done in the web security. And they release a OWASP top 10 list every 3 years, which represents a broad consensus about the most critical security risks that are there to the web applications. Okay. So that's all I have here in the basic terminology. So just to provide a brief review. I have few questions for you, and I want you to answer those questions if it is possible, so that I can judge that whether you were able to understand what I was trying to tell to you. So the first question is, can we call software bugs as vulnerability? So you can type your answers in the chat box. No, we can't. Okay. Yes. So the right answer is no, we can't. But those who are saying yes, probably they have some confusion. Yeah, so we can't. That's why, yeah. But then there are a few people who are saying yes. Okay, so for those who are saying yes, I just want to reiterate. Okay, so the vulnerabilities are, they are the subset of bugs. Okay, so all vulnerabilities are bugs, whereas not all bugs are vulnerabilities. So please understand this very well. Okay, so which bugs are vulnerabilities? Only those bugs which create some security related issue, they are vulnerabilities. So I hope this is clear. A bug is a defect and vulnerability is a way to defect. No, there is some person who is saying no, that's not correct. Bug is a defect, that is right, but vulnerability is not a way to defect. Okay, vulnerability is a bug which causes a security issue. It is not a way to defect. It is a bug which causes security issue. I hope that is clear. If you have any doubts. Yes. Okay. Okay, so coming to the second question, malicious code that executes once initial exploit succeeds is called as, your answers in the chat box. See, there is someone who is asking, do we use bugs to exploit the system? See, bug is a bigger category, vulnerability is a subset of that. Okay, so those bugs which causes security issues, they can be used to exploit the system. I hope this is clear, Sharon. Okay, now coming to the next. So people are saying it is called as malware. No, it is not malware.
Some people said like it is a payload.
Yeah, only one it is saying a payload. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. So those who are saying it as a malware, there is a confusion. Okay, I'll go back to my question. The question is, malicious code that executes once initial exploit succeeds is called as. So it is called as a payload is the right answer. If I go back to the definition, so what is the definition of exploit? A piece of code that's used to take advantage of a software to either initiate an attack or execute malicious functionality. Okay, so it initiates the attack and it acts as a delivery mechanism for the payload. Okay, so now payload can have the functionality which is malicious, and in that sense it will be called as a malware, but payload can be any other thing also. Okay, so payload is a better technical term, though I cannot say malware is completely wrong. Malware is a kind of a the functionality of a payload. Okay, so I hope those who said malware, for them it is clear. Okay, so that ends my session. So there is something which software courses one must do to understand cybersecurity concept easily. Cybersecurity courses, probably Jagdish, we have some.
Yes, we have some courses. I'm going to share the links with them, sir. Don't worry.
Yeah, please, Hana. So please share. So, Jagdish, I am done with my presentation.
All right, thank you.
Over to you. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandeep sir, actually for your wonderful and enlightening session. And it was a very, informative and knowledgeable session. I think many of the people liked your session and they started, exploding in the chat area, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your wonderful session. I also thank all my speakers as well as all my participants who have attended the session throughout the session, and you are also interacted with the speakers of the session nicely. So once again, we thank all of you for joining with us for this session as part of our computer safety day celebrations. Thank you all my speakers as well as thank you all my participants. Right? Yeah, you can just see here in our web portal, like as I told you, we have our InfoSec awareness Stay Safe Online.in website is there. Okay, in the Stay Safe Online website, you have so many courses which we have started, offering to the people. Okay, so I request all of you, please go through these things and ask all your students, parents, teachers, everyone can, get into these courses to learn more and more aspects related to the cybersecurity. So we have basic cybersecurity course. Later part, you also can go and learn so many the cyber defender courses are also there. Okay, so here, like, you can just go through this website. I think it is taking some time. StaySafeOnline.in is a StaySafeOnline.in is a website. Please go down so that you will have a number of courses here. Okay, so that you can go through those courses and enrich your knowledge. Okay, I think it is taking some time, but otherwise it is working. So I request you all kindly go to the StaySafeOnline.in, and you have a number of things like here, awareness topics, learning courses, all these things are there. And recently we have launched these competitions. I request to please promote across all the schools. And in the month of February, we are having a national level event wherein we are planning to, acknowledge all the students of the session, right? So thank you one and all. You may leave the platform now.